4 minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. 1 minute until showtime. 'Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left as right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it's area code 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. You can also join us in the chat room at Liberal Dan Radio on YouTube. If you're listening live on blogtalkradio.com/liberaldan, I suggest you hop on over to the Liberal Dan Radio chat room on YouTube because we're all over there. It's much easier for me to coordinate everything there and just pay attention to one chat room and not two. And if you do want to call in, I do request that you put your name and area code in the chat as well, just so I know who is calling, so I can introduce you, as it's easier to screen calls that way. If you're listening after the live broadcast, you could leave your comments, questions, concerns, etc. over on the show thread at liberaldan.com, at facebook.com/liberaldanradio, and over on Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter, and on the thread here over on Liberal Dan Radio on YouTube as well. That's right. I am moving over slowly and trying to utilize the Liberal Dan Radio Facebook page instead of the Liberal Dan Facebook page, because I think it's easier when I have simple single brand instead of having Liberal Dan one place, Liberal Dan Radio another place. I guess I probably should change it up and use liberaldanradio.com as well. I do have that registered too. So have it all be one place, all one thing. Your boy Alan Drifter, i.e. your boy Chris, one of the Liberal Dan Radio patrons, is in the chat. Appreciate you. He's hanging out in the background, listening along. Thank you very much. The Mod Squad, Jolie and Aaron, of course, are here. Bill, P-Dubs, A-Golf Twitler, Elizabeth, MJ, Daniel, all in the chat. Thank you all for joining as well. Appreciate y'all. Jeff Curry also in the chat live as well. Thank you again for joining each and every week. Appreciate y'all for showing up. Remember, if once I do hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube, that I will be doing 2 times a week. It is Mondays and Wednesdays is when I'll be doing the show. So if you do want to hear me twice a week, just try and share the show with the friends. Share some videos. Make sure that you might even make yourself a second YouTube account. There was a friend of mine who is a Twitch streamer and who also puts YouTube videos up, and she does a bunch of gaming. I'm friends with her on my nerdydan.com account, and she was like, hey, I'm trying to grind. She's at like 950 something, 960 something YouTube subscribers to her channel, and she was like, hey, I'm trying to get to 1,000 so I can get monetized. I'm like, okay. And then I went ahead and subscribed to her with 7 of my channels that I have. Some of them I don't use at all. Some of them are just user channels and not video channels, but I'm like, all right, subscribe. So that's one thing you could do to help. I mean, it's still not going to get me the views per se, but it can get me part of the way there at least. So Vincent Owens, thank you also for joining. See anybody else show up. I think I think I hit everybody so far who is in the chat as well. Let's see. I think it does not look like the Supreme Court has made a ruling on student loan forgiveness yet, so we are not doing that. I am on student loan forgiveness ruling watch because we all know that that's coming. It should be coming soon. It might even come tomorrow. If it comes tomorrow, the Liberal Dan Radio Twitch, or the nerdydan.com, I should say, Twitch stream will be postponed. And I will be doing, I will start off the evening with another Liberal Dan Radio stream as well. So if you see that there is a ruling on student loan forgiveness, especially if the ruling is in the negative, i.e. if they rule against the Biden administration, it is very well likely that I will go live tomorrow night here instead of on Twitch. So just keep your eyes peeled on that. Go to facebook.com/liberaldanradio if you're on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter, Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter. Maybe I'll put a blog post, a YouTube blog post as well, just announcing, hey, I'm going to go live tonight as well. So just keep... I'll be on Blog Talk Radio as well. Hey, Ringing Boy, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah, I'll be on Blog Talk Radio as well. But it's better to watch me on YouTube, especially on the SCOTUS rulings, because I'll have the text up so you can read along with me. Whereas if I'm watching it, if you're listening, I mean, yeah, I'll read it along with you, but if you are, I mean, unless you're visually impaired and you can't see it anyway, watching along on YouTube is probably the better bet, and it helps my analytics on YouTube, so it's better to watch along with me than it is to listen on Blog Talk Radio. Anywho, so let's see if it's they let the big corps just start over with a clean slate of money. We just want the clean slate. I don't want the money too. So I would definitely, if I get to start over, I want to start over with the money as well, not just the clean slate, but let me have the clean slate. And let's just talk, before I get to the headlines, I'm just going to give as I like to do, usually I like to start the show with the headlines, and I do have headlines, but I'd like to let some more people trickle in before, yeah, Real Pete, body parts were found in a submersible. Yeah, I don't even want to know in what shape those body parts were found in. So, but before we get to the headlines, because I do want to let a few more people come in just so they can hear it. I mean, I am going to record the headlines so I can post it. So if anybody who misses the headlines, they'll be posted tomorrow. But there's one thing I did want to talk about. This part of the student loan plan of the Biden administration is not included in the lawsuit, but it is a very important part of the student loan plan of the Biden administration, and I think it's often overlooked, and I don't know how much it's going to affect me, but it's going to affect me a good bit, and this is why. Part of the thing that's being determined in the lawsuit as to whether or not the Biden administration has the authority, which I believe that they do, but this is an activist conservative Supreme Court. And, in reality, when it comes to the amount of my student loan debt, the $20,000, because I had a Pell Grant, the $20,000 that I get forgiven is not going to make a big difference whatsoever in the total amount of money that I owe. It's just going to take a little bit out, and then I'm still going to it's not going to affect my overall payment based on my income-based repayment plan. It's not going to reduce the number of payments that I'm going to have to make. I would rather that money go to somebody else and let them become debt-free quicker. That being said, I don't know how you do that in a more efficient way. So, as our former president would say, thank you, Donald. That did not go through as well as I thought it would. Huh. That's weird. Let's try that again, as our former president would say. Did anybody hear that it is what it is? I don't know. I should be hooked up. Anyway, it is what it is. You did hear it, Aaron? Maybe let's see. Is it down below? Maybe did it play? Anywho. So anyway, the other part of the student loan plan. I'm not saying it's forgiveness, but the other part. No, okay. Do you think the Biden administration really cares for the people? I'm getting to that, Bringing a Boy. I'm getting to that. See, this is there because a lot of the student loan processors, they pushed students and former students into forbearance when they shouldn't have. And the Biden administration had a big problem with that, and it caused a lot of people to get a lot of interest up. And it was not what they were supposed to do. So what the Biden administration has done as part of their policy is they've done they're doing a one-time adjustment that any amount of time spent in forbearance or some other form of deferment that is not in school deferment, as I understand it. If it's in school deferment, it doesn't count. But if it's another form of deferment, like a needs-based deferment, or if it's forbearance, like a needs-based forbearance or a choice forbearance or administrative forbearance or whatever type of forbearance it is. Those are being counted as months in repayment, right? So those count now. So they're going to one time only adjust your months of repayment towards overall. And then so if you make student payments, like if you make 20 years of payments towards your student loans, if you have an undergraduate degree only, or if you have or if you were going towards a graduate degree and have a graduate degree and currently are under a pay-as-you-go type plan, or if you're not currently under a pay-as-you-go type plan and have a 25-year, you have 20 and have a graduate degree, you have a 25 years to go, and then they forgive the rest of your loans. So what they're doing is that right now they're calculating the people who have made who have been either making payments for and or have been in forbearance for 25 years. If all of that equals up to 25 years, or 10 years if you're doing public service. If it wipes out your student, if you've met your 10 or your 20 years, your loans are getting forgiven and your loans are going away. Then they're doing the rest of us. I don't believe that I have 20 years of forbearance and payments yet. I don't believe that I'm there. I've made some payments and I have other forbearance. If I've calculated it correctly, I believe it's at 18 with a lot of forbearance. And here's the deal. I don't know. I think they're going to tell me how much of it is repayment and how much is it forbearance. And my servicer, whenever they calculate it for me, they'll let me know. Now, since I'm not going to be at my 20 yet, I'm going to have to start making payments, I think, in August or September or something. I think September 30th or August 1st is when my payments start. So I'll start making the payments at that point, and then at some point they're going to say, okay, here's your adjustment and here's how many payments you have left. So it'll go from whatever it was to whatever it will be. And so let's say it cuts off 18 years of payments. So I'll then be able to take whatever my current monthly payment is, multiply that by the amount of months of forbearance that got chopped off, and let's say my monthly payment is $200. That's less than what my monthly payment will be. But let's say my monthly payment was $200, and let's say they cut off 18 years off of my pay, or let's just say it cut off 10 years. Let's just make the math easy. 10 years times 12 months is 120 months, times 200, that's 120, 240, 2,400, 24,000. So let's say, is that right? So let's say that I had $200 worth of payments every month for 24 months that I would have had to have paid, but not. The Biden administration, if that was my situation, because of their policy change, will have saved me and my family $24,000. Not bad. Now, what I'm telling everybody, what I'll tell you now is that I guarantee you it's more than that. I guarantee you it's more than that. Because I guarantee you that it's more months, and it's a higher monthly payment. Now, as my income grows, my monthly payment is going to be higher than that as well. But this thing is huge for me. Huge. And whenever it comes down the pipe, and whenever I get that, whenever that comes through, I'm probably going to be very, very happy. All I know is that I thought because I took grad school classes that I was at the 25-year mark. And I was like, okay, fine. But then I went and reread it because I was trying to see, well, when's this going to happen? When is it going to happen? I don't know, because it was supposed to be in the spring, and we're in summer now. And as it turns out, I looked at the chart. I'm like, ooh, I'm in the 20 group. Yay! So automatically I saved 5 years or 60 months worth of payments simply because I was already on a repayment pay-as-you-go plan. I'm like, yes. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning when I figured that out, so I couldn't be all happy-go-lucky and cheering because everyone else in my house was sleeping. So, anywho. So anyway, that's what it is. And let's just check my sound settings real quick because I know I had everything else. I know my voice should sound better this week than last week because for some reason my silly computer decided that it was going to, yeah, it should be set up properly to be able to hear that. I don't know why it's not. Well, see, if you got Pell, that's a whole completely different thing with the Pell Grant thing. It's $10,000 or $20,000 if you didn't get Pell Grant or didn't get Pell. That's what the lawsuit's about, or that's what the suit that's what the Supreme Court is determining. If they're just going to off the top reduce $10,000 or $20,000 or $10,000 or $20,000. That's what the Supreme Court case is about. If whatever you owe, they're going to chop off 10 or 20. That doesn't help me much because I'm much more than that. It's just way much more than that. Bring your boy. Okay, Rob, the Biden administration doesn't care why it's difficult to help people. President Trump gave statements out when COVID was up. I mean, with the help of the Democrats and the Biden administration had to be dragged, kicking, streaming, and we could go into all of that, but we're not going to really be talking about what happened during the Trump administration during COVID because, I mean, he wanted to stop testing and slow down testing. Hundreds of thousands of people needlessly died because the Trump administration mishandled the COVID pandemic. So no, the Donald Trump administration clearly did not care about people. He cared about optics. He cared about how he looked. He cared about making everything look pretty and sugarcoating everything. So, anywho, I think we've waited long enough for people. Anybody who missed headlines now is going to miss headlines. So now for this week's headlines. A mystery man was recorded etching his initials in the bricks at the Colosseum in Rome. I don't know about you, but I'm foregoing old school and feeding him to the lions. Canadian wildfire smoke has moved back over the Northeast again. No word if the "I'm never wearing a mask again" MAGA types are going back on their words, or if they will be dealing with black lung in the future. In New Orleans, the Sewage and Water Board was revealed to have a secret sex room. Brings a whole new meaning to the term pumping stations. In the room was a can of Slap Ya Mama seasoning. I'm not sure if they also ate in that room or if this was more of a hint of what was going on in the room. Accused of manslaughter, Daniel Penny has pled not guilty in the subway death of Jordan Neely. I would bet a quarter that he is convicted. A man who lost his leg in Lake Natoma, California, was reunited with it a year later. A scuba diver found it, and it was returned to David Nada. The leg was worth over $20,000. If I lost something that was worth that much, I would be hopping mad about it. All we need to do now is find out how much a prosthetic arm costs, and we'll know the answer of how much something costs if it is costing an arm and a leg. But the good news is, if he ever faces legal problems, he will now have a leg to stand on. And that was this week's headline. So there you go. Pull your leg. That was that was a good joke that I missed. There you go. I missed a good obvious joke where used to be that he was less likely to fall for a bad joke because people were less likely to be able to pull his leg. Demonox. I live in Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts. Well, the farmers, I can confirm, when the skies were orange, all the MAGA hats were wearing masks suddenly. This week's Hypocrite of the Week are the Western Massachusetts MAGA people who said they'll never wear a mask again, but then wore a mask. Actually, that is not the hypocrite of the week this week. The hypocrite of the week this week actually comes from your boy Chris, who gave. I actually had to do a little bit more research on the hypocrite of the week this week, simply because of the fact that normally I find the hypocrite of the week by finding somebody doing something hypocritical. This week, it was shown to me a town that was doing something that raised the potential for hypocrisy, and then I had to find the hypocrite. And, well, lo and behold, shocker of all shockers, I found the hypocrite.
This week's Hypocrite of the Week is State Rep Danny Short of Seaford, Delaware, who put forward a bill that would allow the city of Seaford to amend its charter to allow corporations to have a vote in all municipal elections. Short opposes House Bill 96 that would reduce the voting age in school board elections to 16 years old. So 16-year-olds can't vote on issues that affect them, but a corporation that is not a person can. Make it make sense. To see who next week's Hypocrite of the Week will be, tune in Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on Liberal Dan Radio on YouTube and blogtalkradio.com/LiberalDan.
Yeah, so I got the article by Chris, who said, yeah, this town of Seaford, Delaware, there's like 300 voters or something, 300 people registered, 300 something people who are registered voters in this town, in this little city. And they went ahead and they wanted to amend their charter. I guess in order to amend their charter, the state legislature has to pass it. So the representative who represents the city of Seaford put up this bill to try and allow the city of Seaford to not just to allow these individuals, to allow corporations to vote as people in the city. So I think the way it works is that I don't think that if you are a person who lives in Seaford and you also have a business in Seaford, I don't think you get to vote twice. However, and here's the big however, if I live here in New Orleans and I want to register a business, and let's say I decided that I no longer wanted Liberal Dan Radio LLC to be a Louisiana corporation. I wanted Liberal Dan Radio LLC or Liberal Dan LLC to be registered in Seaford, Delaware, right? I made that the domicile. I went ahead and made the domiciliary address to be Seaford, Delaware. Liberal Dan Radio. I could then vote as Liberal Dan Radio or Liberal Dan LLC in Seaford if this went through. I would have a vote in Seaford elections. I'd still be able to vote here as myself in Louisiana, but my corporation would get to vote on all items Seaford. How ridiculous is that? Yeah. But he didn't want 16-year-olds to be able to cast ballots on school board elections, even though it affects them specifically. So, no 16-year-olds can vote on that, but corporations that are not people, they can vote? Yeah, that's hypocrisy to me. Absolute hypocrisy. And I already have next week's Hypocrite of the Week lined up already. It's already in queue, so I could even make that probably today. It might go live on the Patreon tonight after the show. So it's ready to go. I just have to record it, but it's ready to go clearly because Greg Abbott is one hell of a and just the Texas Republicans in general are all about, they're all, Republicans and conservatives, they're all about local governance until local governance becomes inconvenient. They don't like local governance when local governance, tries to, do things that they don't like. Kind of like the whole Disney thing. They allowed Disney to locally govern, and when Disney locally governed for a very long time, Disney was very efficient, and they were able to let's see, we're gonna fix this street. Boom, street fixed. We're gonna do this. Boom, this is fixed. Boom, this is done. It's very nicely done. Very nice area around Disney World. Now DeSantis doesn't like them because they criticized him on his bigoted ways, and now he's going after him. And watch what's going to happen to the area around Disney after that. It's going to be really ridiculous. What's up, Rail Guy? How's it going? Thank you very much for joining the show. Appreciate you. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. So let's see. So the first thing, I didn't include this in the show description, but I did want to talk about this for a few minutes first before we get on with the rest of the topics of the show. Closed for Essence. What does that mean? Closed for Essence. Essence Festival is a festival that takes place in New Orleans around July 4th. It's happening a little bit early this year, I think because of the timing of when July 4th is. I was surprised it was this weekend instead of the next weekend, but, you know, it is what it is. Sorry, Donald, but for some reason your button's not working today. Anywho, so there is a long-standing bigoted tradition in the city of New Orleans where businesses will shut down for Essence Festival because they'll claim a myriad of reasons. Here's one example of what happened a previous year. A establishment called Walk-Ons. It's a sports-themed type, pub-type restaurant that serves traditional American fare. You can get hamburgers and wings. They used to have this like ultimate BLT or whatever, where it's like a ton of bacon and lettuce and tomato. I used to go there for work a bunch. And the last time I ate there was, it was the Thursday before Essence Festival this one year. And we ate there. And then I saw on Facebook later that day that because of a sewage issue, that they were going to be closed that weekend. Because apparently sewage was backing up into their dining room. Well, gross. Well, but they knew that sewage was backing up into their dining room before I had gone there that day. So gross. That's disgusting. So they let people eat there that day. All right, so this isn't racist yet, right? Because no, it's just gross, right? Because there's nothing racist about that. It's just disgusting. But here's the thing. They didn't know how bad the problem was. They didn't know what the problem was. They hadn't had the time yet, potentially, to look at and diagnose. They just knew that there was a problem. But they announced that they wouldn't be open till after the weekend was over. How would they know how long that they would have to be closed? Maybe it was a minor problem that they could just fix overnight and be open the next day. How would they know? They could have just said, we're going to be closed indefinitely until this problem is fixed. Maybe it would have been fixed the next day. Oh, we're open again. No. They knew that they were going to be closed the entirety of the weekend. So maybe they did know how bad the problem was. I don't know. They never let that out. But they just wanted to be closed for Essence Festival. Here's the kicker. I used to drive for Uber and Lyft. I was having a conversation about the whole closed for Essence thing with a passenger of mine who happened to be a food reporter for one of the local newspapers. The food reporter said that, and now I can't corroborate this, I just have to go by what he said, but according to this food reporter, Walk-Ons apparently allegedly knew about this plumbing issue for weeks. They knew about it for a while. They just chose to not let anybody know about it until the day that they closed. But for some reason, they announced it the morning of, instead of after they decided to close. So instead of saying on Thursday afternoon, hey, we're closing now because we're having this plumbing problem, they announced on Thursday morning. And so I had to eat in a restaurant where they were having sewage supposedly backing up into the dining area, which is gross. But they knew about it for weeks, which is gross, and chose what weekend to close? Not the weekend 2 weekends before Essence Festival, so they could be open for Essence Festival. Not the weekend 3 weekends before Essence Festival, or 1 weekend before. They chose to be closed during a very busy weekend of Essence Festival. Essence Festival has a lot of black tourists coming to the city of New Orleans. They don't close for other festivals. So one can only assume that the only reason that they closed for Essence is because they didn't want to serve black patrons. This is not a just one-off thing. There have been other restaurants there's like the Gem Saloon right across the street. I know, or used to know, the ex-wife of the owner of that place, who basically said, yes, he's a really big old racist, and that the reason that he closed for Essence is because he didn't want to have to deal with a bunch of black patrons because he's racist. There are other places that they would just simply choose to not be open just because they don't want to be open for Essence Festival. This year it's Pat O'Brien's. One of the biggest, most well-known bars in the city of New Orleans. Pat O'Brien's. I used to work there. We were open for Essence Festival when I worked there. I don't know who the management is now, but guess what? They're closed for Essence this year too. So I can only assume that they're doing it not for whatever other reason, but they're doing it because they're being racist. Look, and there are people, I had somebody on Twitter, and I was about to tweet earlier today, hey, I'm going to be talking about Close for Essence today on tonight's podcast, so if you want to come in and listen to tonight's podcast and hear me talk about Close for Essence, come on. Somebody responded to one of my Close for Essence tweets right before I was about to do that from like previous years. And the person was like, well, maybe they should tip. Maybe you should not be racist. I used to work, one of my first waiting jobs was for a restaurant up in Baltimore, Maryland. And this guy was this bitter old man. And he would tell us, hey, Leanna, what's going on? This bitter old man, the owner, he would always talk like this. And we had an employee meeting, and he told us as part of the meeting, if you have a table of bricks, and he did this thing with it, a table of bricks, automatic 15% gratuity. And I looked around at all the other wait staff, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? There's no way I'm doing that. No. I mean, if that's going to be the official policy and he wants to enforce that on me, no, I'll quit. Or he can fire me. I don't care. I'm not going to do that. Now, I mean, maybe I should have just walked out at that point. I don't know. But I wasn't necessarily as bold as I am now. Now I probably would have been like, I'm not doing that. I would have raised my hand and been like, no, I'm not doing that. You know, whatever. So, like a day or two later, I had this couple come in. It was probably one of my only tables. At the time, it was a very slow day. And I served them, nice black couple. And I gave them their check and they paid. And after they left, he came up to me and was like, you served the table of bricks. And I was like, I sure did. I knew exactly what was coming. And he goes, did you charge them 15% gratuity? And I was like, nope. He goes, what did they tip you? 20%. Oh, and then he scurried off because he was embarrassed because I didn't listen to his racist BS and I because I gave them good service and treated them like I would treat anybody else and didn't treat them like they were trash. And, because that's the deal. Trashy people don't tip. It's not a white thing. It's not a black thing. There was the worst convention that I had when I worked as a waiter downtown in New Orleans. It wasn't Essence Fest. It wasn't Bayou Classic, the two main conventions that have mostly black customers that come in. It was the Southern Baptist Convention. A whole bunch of lily white a-holes that came in that basically showed that I wanted to go ask if they would show me their Bible and say, hey, does your Bible, is it different than mine? Because yours must have an 11th commandment that says thou shalt not tip. Because clearly yours has that, because I'm not getting any this convention because it's ridiculous. You treat people with dignity and respect, and that's, you're not going to be treated poorly in time. Are there going to be circumstances where you get treated horribly, where people who don't understand and will be terrible? Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. There are terrible people all over the place, but I'm not going to treat people like they're terrible just because of their skin color, and I'm not going to do that. So then these businesses are going to choose to do that in a city that was once called by a previous mayor a chocolate city, that is a predominantly black city. I mean, how stupid are you? I mean, go move out to the North Shore if that's what you want to do. I mean, one of the things that I've basically used as my gauge of racism as it pertains to the people who fled this city in the Great White Flight was, how far did you move away from downtown? And I'll get to the chat in a second. How far did you move away from downtown? Did you go from downtown to Lakeview still in New Orleans? Maybe not. Maybe not. Did you go to Metairie, which is just right across right a hop? Maybe a little bit. You might be a little bit, might not be, but you still left the city. Did you go to Kenner, Louisiana, which is like Jefferson Parish, the one county over or parish over, but like all the way out, as far out in the next parish as you can? Maybe. I mean, there are people who live in Kenner, and there's like Kenner, and then there's North Kenner, and people who live in North Kenner, because the southern part of Kenner has more ethnic populations, more Hispanic people, more black people, and the north part of Kenner might have more white people, more Caucasian people, and the people who live in North Kenner, who make sure to let you know that they live in North Kenner, those are probably the people that fled the city because they didn't want to be near black people. Those are probably people that fled because they didn't want to be near black people. And then you have the North Shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The Pontchartrain Bridge, the bridge that crosses the Lake Pontchartrain, used to be the longest bridge in the world. It is still the longest bridge in the world over a single body of water. The people that moved from New Orleans up there crossed the largest bridge in the world to get away from black people. If that tells you where the racism is and how racist they are likely to be. Does this mean that there are all racists up on the North Shore? Of course not. But if you're that racist to cross the bridge, the longest bridge in the world to get away from black people, you're pretty darn racist. So, I mean, yeah. That's the racism that unfortunately still exists down here in the South, down here in Louisiana. And apparently, though, in New Orleans, you still got plenty of it here in the city. And you see it every year for Essence Fest, because the hashtag Close for Essence pops its ugly head up every single year. And every single year, businesses, I don't know if they think they're just going to get away with it again and not going to suffer the bad press that they're going to get or I don't know if they think that they're clever. Oh, we're just doing routine maintenance. Why are you doing routine maintenance during one of the busiest weekends of the year that's not Mardi Gras or Jazz Fest? Why wouldn't you do it like 3 weeks from now when it's even hotter and nobody's here? Why wouldn't you choose one of the least busy weeks to do your maintenance? Instead, you're choosing a super huge busy time. And I don't even want to hear the crap. Oh, black people don't tip, blah, blah. I used to do rideshare. And I would hear from the rideshare people the same BS too. I made some of the best money I ever did doing rideshare during Essence Festival. And not only that, I had some of the best passengers during Essence Festival. I had some of the best times doing rideshare during Essence Festival. Like, again, it was some of the most fun passengers during Essence Festival because they were out here just having a great time listening. There was great content. I was jealous at some of the concerts that they were going to. I wish I could have gone to the concerts, but I had to work. But they were talking about the concerts. They were talking about because it's not just concerts. They have like sessions and seminars that they, talk about all sorts of things and stuff about empowerment and uplifting yourself. I'd learn all sorts of new things from the passengers. If my car didn't look terrible, I might consider making sure that I could go work this weekend. Because, again, I had fun, some of my most fun, working Essence Fest, driving Uber and Lyft. I had some of my most fun and made some of my most money working Uber and Lyft during those times. So don't give me the BS that people, I'm afraid of working. My business is going to suffer because I'm being open during Essence. No, you're suffering because you treat people like crap so they're going to treat you like crap in turn. That's why your business is suffering. It has nothing to do with the patrons. It has everything to do with the owners and potentially the staff as well. So that's my little rant. Maybe I should have made this a fat man rant to put my fat man rant behind it. But that's my rant on closed for Essence and why people are closed for Essence. Let's just go. Let's look at the things. The whatchamacallit. Some of the chat going. Let's see. Kimchi. Hey, Kimchi. How's it going? Say hi. Hey, going on. Glad you can join us. I did see you in house chat the other day, but I'm glad you're here. Twitter, in October 2019, Trump defunded the Predict Pandemic Early Warning Program run by USAID, by the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a testing and tracking program for educating doctors around the world. Of course he did. Not shocked. Kimchi. Hey, what's going on, Kimchi? Glad you're here. Real guy, lots of sparklers here. Yeah, a lot of my listeners happen to be sparklers as well. Would love to have more sparklers. I am trying to get up to 1,000 overall subscribers so I can get monetized. West Web, the waiters only get paid by the tips. Yes, they do, but I get paid when I was a waiter. I got paid by my tips, and I did well as a waiter when I got paid by my tips. So, hey, John Deff, how's it going? Let's see. Bring it, boy. You're upset about Disney having to comply with the laws well, it's not about Disney having to comply with the laws in America. It's about DeSantis using government to go after Disney, using his power as governor and using his power over the legislature to force the legislature to go after a private business. I thought y'all as conservatives wanted government to get out of the way of business. DeSantis, as a hypocrite, used the power of government to try and harm business simply because the people as in the business spoke their mind about a policy of government they disagreed with. How about those cities and states that allow no-go zones? We could talk about that another time. Those no-go zone things sounds more like paranoia than anything else. Let's see. Anyone who ate there during the time and got sick is gonna have a sweet class action. I mean, I don't think anybody got sick, but still, it's still kind of gross. Kimchi. Hope Pat O'Brien's goes broke. I mean, I doubt that they're going to go broke. They're way too famous, and not enough people are going to go there and get hurricanes and drink themselves into a drunken stupor. It's probably this is probably not going to be enough for them to have any harm in their bottom line. But it's just ridiculous that they've joined the whole, close for Essence thing. Because why would they choose this weekend? I'm sure they make tons of money selling hurricanes. Let's see. Jeff Curry West the other day. I saw a guy at a urinal that has pants and underwear all the way down at his ankles. Nice. There's a funny story that I have about homeless man butt that I tell sometimes. I was in one of the publicly accessible bathrooms at the building that I used to work at. Technically, I still work at the same building for a different company, but I don't work in the office. So it's the bathrooms that are the same level as the publicly available cafeterias, and I went to use one of the stalls, and for some reason, like, I hear the water going for such a long time, and I'm like, did somebody forget to turn the water off? It seems kind of weird that somebody forgot to turn the water off, that the water's going for this long, so I guess I'll have to turn it off when I leave the stall. So I get out of the stall, I leave, and as I'm going there, there's this guy who looked like he was unhoused, and he was brushing his teeth. And that's why the water was going for so long. And I thought to myself, well, that's good. If he doesn't have a house to live in, but he's still taking the care to take care of his dental hygiene, good for him. I didn't begrudge him from using it. I know that there are probably some people who work there who probably wouldn't like the fact that somebody who in his state was using the bathroom in his building. I'm more than happy to see him use the bathroom to be able to do what he needs to do, for the most part. Another day, similar situation. I'm using the stall. I get out of the stall. I'm hearing the water flow. Oh, he must be brushing his teeth again. I come out of the stall expecting to see him brushing his teeth. Nope. One of his legs is up on the sink. His other leg's down on the floor. His pants are down at his ankles, and there's his hairy butt right there. And I was just like, nope, I did not need to see that. And I just scurried out the door and went to the other bathroom and washed my hands, because I did not need to see that for any longer than I needed to. Look, I didn't begrudge him brushing his teeth, but I also did not need to see his butt. Hang off Twitter. Do these people think that their money is different? I mean, the money is not different, but for some reason they just think that for some reason that their business is somehow going to suffer if they operate during that weekend, or that for some reason operating during that weekend is somehow a bad business decision. And to me, I think hate and racism is always a bad business decision. So there you go. Let's see. Dar and I, a steak place where you pay when you order. We forgot to tip. We drove back to make up for it. Yeah, I've done that before too. Like, we even at the bowling alley, like, the kids bowl every week, and we left and I forgot the credit card there, and the person was closing out at 5, and I wasn't going to be able to make it there till 6, and I called up. I said, look, I know you're closing out at 5, and I'm not going to be able to make it there then. Just put a 20% tip on there, and I'll pick up the card later. So, and there are other times where I was like, I forgot to leave a tip, or I walked out with the slip, and I made sure to give an envelope with a cash tip for the person. Please make sure this person gets it, because again, always wanted to make sure that the person gets. And sometimes I'll give it very generous. We went to this restaurant the other day, and this server did more to take care of my wife and her celiac than any other waiter has done ever. Like, I mean, he bent over backwards to try and make sure that she was taken care of, because he asked questions. we were trying to figure out why the shrimp and grits were not gluten-free, because there should be nothing in shrimp and grits that would have gluten in it. Apparently there was. But he asked questions. He made sure that they made something off menu as a side so that she could have something she enjoyed, because she didn't like the options that were gluten-free. So, like, and it was wonderful. I don't even know what percentage I tipped. It was just a lot. And I was just like, look, I'll make it rain for you if you take care of me. Because I'm a waiter and I would do the same thing. So I know that that person was somebody who was taking his job seriously, and I made sure that person was taken care of. See, Chris, why do you think people hate Sundays around here? Because as soon as church lets out, everyone is overrun with hateful, entitled old a-holes. Exactly. See how life on my streams are crazy. Small minds running in the same circles. Aquatic. Hey, what's going on, Aquatic? Thank you for joining. Leanna, usually people don't like waiting on women because they don't tip. I've tried my best to change that. I've never had that. I've never had any sort of experience of really any stereotype not tipping. I've never, unless the stereotype is, oh, those people look trashy. So, let's see. Say how. I think I call them what they are. Bigots. Anyone not my skin color, not my sexual orientation, doesn't go on my particular religion should, yeah. People tip when treated well and they will intend to return. Yep. Wonder on Uber on Tractor would do well, maybe. I scrolled. Unfortunately. Let's see. Let's go back up and try and see. There we are. I found it where I was. I'm owner and operator of my farm. Better watch my P's and Q's. Let's see. Egoff. Restaurants on interstates have bad tips because people are not coming back. See, that's weird. Like, I can't imagine. I can count on the number on my hand the number of times that I've left less than 15%. And the number of times I've left less than 50%, and it had nothing to do with the kitchen. It had nothing, like, it wasn't about the food being slow. It had nothing to do with food quality. I think it might have even just been twice. I think it was 2 times. And both times, it was just, 2 times. It was just a rude server. Like, one time I ordered the food and I asked for something in particular and I didn't get it. And when I asked, I said, I asked for this particular thing, and she's like, no, you didn't. I said, yes, I did. And she was like, that isn't on the menu. I'm like, yes, it is. She's like, it's not on the menu. And I'm like, it is. Bring me the menu. Let me speak to a manager then. and bring me a menu and let me speak to a manager. And she was like, fine. And she stormed off and she got them in the menu with the manager. And I was like, see, this is right here. And I was like, and I asked for this thing and she didn't bring me what I wanted. And then when I asked her that, I told her that it was on the menu, and she argued with me that it wasn't on the menu. And she was like, I didn't argue with you. And I'm like, she argued with me again. And he was like, I'll take care of you for the rest of the night, sir. I'm like, thank you. And then another one, it was another situation where, again, she was arguing with me or whatever. So I'm like, look, don't. Some people might even say, maybe the person was having a bad day, don't take it out on them. I'm like, look, I've had bad days when I was serving. I don't take it out on my customers either. So don't let your stuff affect your customers either. So let's see. What else? Yes, I am a sparkler too. I just had my, what was it, 16 or 18 month sparkleversary. Megan, yes, Redneck Wisdom was hilarious. The Doppler. We haven't played the words of Redneck Wisdom yet. Megan, first of all, thank you. Shout out to Megan for being the latest Liberal Dan Radio patron. If you are a Liberal Dan Radio patron, you get access to the bits early on, and I posted both Hypocrite of the Week and Words of Redneck Wisdom last night. So that's what Megan was talking about, the Words of Redneck Wisdom. let's see. We will get to the words of bread and wisdom in a second. It's a little longer than normal. So everyone's probably confused at the moment. Like, what Doppler lady? What are you talking about? Biggie boy, oh, that's rich. Biden administration doesn't use their overreach with the help of the FBI, DOJ. I mean, government sometimes overreaches, but here's the interesting thing. Where do you think that they overreached? Like Trump was hands-on with the DOJ. Biden is not. Biden did not fire the person who was investigating his own son. Think about that. Think about that. Biden did not investigate the person who was investigating his own child because of how that would look. Vincent, is Robert a troll or lost? No, actually, Vincent, Robert, i.e. Bringing a Boy, is one of the original listeners of Liberal Dan Radio. So he's just conservative, and we have good back and forths from time to time, and so he is welcome here. He is a welcome conservative, and we jab at each other back and forth a bunch. It happens, but I am happy to have Robert here. I am happy for him to be here, and he is a loyal listener, even if he is sometimes we happen to disagree on the issues. Let's see. Jeff Curry, I saw a guy get well ballooned to a dead cat. I think you said that last week too, about the dead cat and the get well balloon. Cynthia, hey Cynthia, how's it going on? Oh, it scrolled again. Darn it. There we go. Okay, I'm back to where it was. Trump's announced security arrest. Anyone else will be in jail? Well, hopefully Trump will be in jail soon. Hey, Cynthia, again. A glutton for punishment or gluten for punishment? Gluten for your pleasure. Speaking of gluten, I'm a gluten for glutton. Speaking of gluten, I made probably one of the most delicious gluten-free cookies anybody has ever eaten, ever. My work was having a contest, on a cookie contest, and I made these cookies that were peppermint chip, chocolate chip, and marshmallow. Like that was a mix, and it went in with my gluten-free, my normal chocolate chip cookie mix, but I used a cup for cup flour, like gluten-free alternative. And my wife said that they were effing delicious. Even my son, who is not does not have celiac, he said that they were effing delicious. And even the people in work, like I had people walk by works, like I even put a sign, these are gluten-free. And I heard somebody like say, I'm not eating a gluten-free cookie. And I was like, look, trust me, go try it. I promise you. And she went back and she had one and she was like, this is really good. Like normally with a gluten-free, and I mean, I'll toot my own horn on this one. Normally with a gluten-free cookie, you have to give up something. You either get a weird texture, like it's either crumbly or gritty, or you have a weird taste or a weird aftertaste, or something's off. Usually there's something wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with my gluten-free. My gluten-free cookies are the bomb.com. And every time my sons eat one, he's like, this is effing delicious. Like, he's not even eating the regular, because I made regular cookies too. Like, I had to go to I don't usually make regular cookies because I don't want to contaminate my oven. So I went and prepared the wet stuff in my house, and then I went and brought the flour into my neighbor's house and baked the regular cookies over in my neighbor's house so I wouldn't contaminate my oven or my kitchen. So and my regular cookies, I mean, I've been making my regular cookies since I was in high school. Like I make delicious chocolate chip cookies. So I mean, it's to the point where I'm like, I need to figure out what the price point would be if I wanted to make these cookies, and I should start selling these cookies. They're that good. I think I would make money if the price point's right. Let's see, Kimchi, I will sub when we get private late night chats. Maybe that should be a separate patron thing. Late night, maybe that should be the thing. Maybe After Dark or After Dark with Liberal Dan should be a late night. Should be one of the should be a patron exclusive. Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe that's what that should. Maybe instead of making it be a YouTube thing, maybe that should be a Patreon exclusive. Maybe that's the way to get more people to subscribe to the Patreon. Yeah, that's the thing. Biden let I think I talked about this last week. Biden let two of Trump's AGs stay on, not AGs, prosecutors stay on. Let's just scroll down. How many felonies does it take to put handcuffs on his tiny wrists? Would Trump allow Jack Smith to stay on the case if it wasn't closed by 2024 and he won? No, Trump would have the charges dismissed. Trump would hire a new AG, and Trump would instruct the new AG to close the case, and they would drop the case, and that would be the end of it. Thank you, Bringing It Boy. I appreciate it that you noticed the weight loss. I'm down about 70 pounds from my heaviest, so thank you for noticing. Double Dan's gluten-free cookies on Shark Tank. Yeah, that would be great. Yes, I have a wife. I married up, too. She's quite the looker. And she's very sweet, too. Anywho, so we're done with the close fluorescence thing. Let's go ahead and play, since Megan talked about the Doppler radar thing, and everyone probably saw Megan talking about the Doppler radar thing, and since she's watching Jeopardy, so she's not missing anything with it. We're going to hear, it's a longer Words of Redneck Wisdom this week, but this is this week's Words of Red, and it's not really rednecky as much. There's no like twang this time, but I couldn't even make it as long as I wanted to, because every single time that Jeff was interviewing this person, like he kept on asking her about the Doppler radar thing, and she kept on twisting it to something else, and she would never really answer the question. Let's see. Stepping away. Don't do anything amazing while I'm gone. I mean, if you start levitating, I'll be mad. I would need a lot more brain power than I have to levitating. I haven't lost that much weight yet. So, but if I do, well, you can always watch the replay, right? So, anyway, this week's Words of Redneck Wisdom.
And now, Words of Redneck Wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio.
So a few days ago, we had on from geoengineeringwatch.org Dane Wigington, and asked him about Doppler radars and the connection between that and hurricanes. And he gave an answer that now our next guest, Raphael O'Neill, wants to expand upon. And Raphael heard that interview and is now prepared to give her response to it. And Raphael, thanks. And let's delve into that if we could.
So now I consider myself, my humble just human being with curiosity and critical thinking skills and the ability to listen to everybody without prejudice, so that I can then pick out the truth and make my own narrative. That is the truth's narrative, because everyone has their own, contribution to it. But my claim to fame is that I definitively proved that the radars are attracting. They can repel, and they can intensify and multiply. But what I saw was a storm going into the radar, not away from it. I saw the other radars around it pushing it into place, because it can expand out And sure enough, it creates this high-pressure area. But when they release that energy, we see triangulating waves of wind coming from the north, the south, the east, going over the radar because there's a suction as the heat rises. The air is coming up above the radar.
Why? What's the motivation for steering these storms? I mean, what is going on there?
Okay, I mean, why do little boys take a magnifying glass and burn an ant? Because they can. And in fact, the Nazis wanted to put a sun gun up in the sky. And some of us have seen hyper-localized weather, like the snowstorm that came out, and it was only for 2 blocks and only in the streets, not the sidewalks, not the roofs. It was underneath the 5G LED lights. We don't know what all this technology can do, but we know they want us looking into space. And I just want to say something. Project Bluebeam, the fake alien invasion, will be the last PSYOP. Von Braun warned Dr. What was her name? Her name was Dr. Carol Rosin. Said that on his deathbed for the last couple of years, he said, in the last card they'll play, the last one will be the alien invasion. And now you hear, I'm citing basic science, and I have years of radar capture, and I actually was able to correctly predict the landfall of hurricanes, and I'm on record, even though they took down my channels and I've put it back up, correctly predicting the landfall of hurricanes better than the meteorologists because I can read the damn radars. It repels, it attracts. This is the science. The actual literature of Doppler radar says be careful about pointing a beam in a direction too long. It has environmental effects. And what were we seeing for several days, or for the day leading into it, as it got close, the hurricane was going right into the beam. So you explain to me why I have years and Doppler after Doppler for each storm going into hurricane and dancing off of it, going backwards into it, breaking records. You look at my work and you answer to my observation. What was the credentials of the kid who saw that the emperor had no clothes?
And this concludes Words of Redneck Wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
I was listening that whole time, and I was just dying laughing the entire time. And she's there. I tried to click the link on our Twitter channel, on our Twitter feed to YouTube, and it's like, oh no, this video does not exist because this account was banned. I'm like, ooh, I wonder why. But yeah, like the whole Doppler radar attracting hurricanes. Like maybe I'm like, maybe use common sense here. Like if I'm in a city that a hurricane is coming to, like, you know, New Orleans has hurricanes that come to it, and you're watching the Doppler radar showing the hurricane coming to it, it's gonna look like the hurricane is coming to the Doppler radar. But so that's why you're gonna see the Doppler radar from New Orleans, and you like so when they show the radar from Miami and if a hurricane's coming towards Miami, you're gonna see the Doppler radar for Miami. Like, that's why you're gonna see it has nothing. It's so stupid. Like, oh my god. And like when she started spouting off her credentials, there was an email person who was anonymous who was saying this person was using all sorts of different technologies and confusing it, and asked what her credentials were. And of course she said, read the radars, not just the radar. Read the radars, plural. But radar. Read the radar. It'll be read the radar. And I just love the fact that she cited a fictional the emperor who wears no clothes as proof to back up her claims. Like, I was just like, oh my god, I have to include this as the ending, because this is just American. I mean, I called the hurricanes, like we were in Louisiana. I was in New Orleans, and Hurricane Georges was coming, and a whole bunch of people evacuated for Hurricane Georges, and I was like, it's not going to hit us, because the jet stream comes like this, and all the news people had it coming up and hitting New Orleans, and I was like, no, the jet stream's going to hit it, and it's going to go this way, and it's going to miss New Orleans. And about 2 days later, Nash Roberts, who was the guy who was like the big know-it-all meteorologist here in New Orleans at the time, who, while everyone else was still using was using like the fancy pants, you know, TV screens and everything. He was still using like, you know, stickies on a board. He was like, the jet stream's going to hit it over this way. And I'm like, see, I've been saying that for 2 days now. And one of the other meteorologists was like, that guy's an old coot. He shouldn't be saying that. And who was right? Nash Roberts. So who was right? Me. I'm not going around saying that, you know, radar is attracting and pushing, because that's so easy. Because that's the great thing, I guess, about her crazy conspiracy theory. Well, why didn't the hurricane get pulled in by this Doppler radar? Oh, well, this time it pushed it. So it's easy for her to try and make her claims because, well, this time it pulled. Oh, this time it pushed. There's no way that you could that she could prove or disprove her claims, but there's no, because she could just claim, oh, this time it pushed. This time it pulled. Like the next year, the storm, hurricane, I think it was Ivan, was coming towards New Orleans, and it was taking the same path as George. I'm like, well, why are we evacuating? I don't think we should evacuate because it's going to miss again, just like George's did. But my girlfriend at the time, her mom wanted to leave, and I'm like, fine, we'll leave. And then it took us like 8 hours to get what it would normally take 50 minutes to go. And by the time we got to 50 minutes to what it would normally take to go, the storm made the turn. And I was like, can we just turn around now and go back? Because we're only going to get tropical storm conditions. And they're like, fine. So we turned back, and we didn't even lose power. So, but then the next year, Katrina was coming up this way. And I was like, we got to go. And because I knew it was going to hit us, and it hit us. So I guess I'm an expert too now because I predicted 3 hurricanes correctly. Hilarious. There's no more clouds anymore thanks to chemtrails. She was also talking about chemtrails. She was also bringing it. There was a whole bunch of other stuff on that show where she was talking about chemtrails too. I just left all that out because I didn't want to complicate things. I just wanted to leave it on the whole Doppler radar attracting storms bit, because she was talking about all that other stuff. I mean, she did talk about the aliens. I mean, I'm not saying it's aliens, but aliens. But the funny thing was that Jeff was trying really hard to get her back on track, and she was like, oh, but this is, I mean, it was just like, why are they doing it? But let's get back to the Doppler radar. And she was like, squirrel. Like, she couldn't keep on track because that's the way you do. That's what they do. Like Obama said when he made that 3-pointer. That's what I do. That's what I've been saying that a lot today, because every time everybody makes a comment about my chocolate chip cookies and how great they are, I'm like, that's what I do. Anyway, so pretty sure I saw clouds today right before the rain. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah. Chemtrails. The chemtrails and the 5G. And she did mention the 5G thing, which was hilarious, because I have a couple of videos where when my wife went to go get her when she went to go get her first COVID vaccine and then her second COVID vaccine, and I was like taking the video and I was like, I don't know, my cell phone reception is not getting any better yet after the first one. Maybe we have to wait for the second shot for the cell phone reception to get better. So, she brought up man, bringing it, boy, you are hitting all the things. She was also talking about geoengineering. Man, do you know this woman? Do you know what this woman is talking about? I mean, are you friends with this woman? Bringing it, boy? Man. I mean, she was talking about that too. Geoengineering as well. You're getting all the talking points for that one. Yeah, when she went from Nazis to von Braun. Every time I hear Werner von Braun, though, I think of the Tom Lehrer song. Some have harsh words for this man of renown, but some think our attitude should be one of gratitude, like the widows and cripples in old London town, who owe their large pensions to Werner von Braun. Tom Lehrer is so great. If you've not listened to Tom Lehrer, you should. And I can't get a copyright strike for that because Tom Lehrer put all of his songs into the public domain, so I can sing his songs. If I could play the piano, I could play his songs too. Of course I missed you bringing it, boy. It's boring if everyone agrees, right? I just don't, like when people go overboard. Sometimes people go overboard. I have not levitated any cookies yet. Not yet. And honestly, how many I don't even think I've had. I've had ever since I made the cookies, I've had like 2 of my own cookies. And which is weird for me because normally I would eat a whole bunch more, but some of the medication that I'm on just had really janked my appetite all up. So that's part of the reason why I've lost a bunch of weight, because my appetite's all janked up. So, anyway, man, we're going. That's honestly only 9:20. Wow. One thing I did want to talk about is Donald Trump. Shocker. You get copyright strikes even if you sing it. Shockingly enough, yes. There were 2 people there was one YouTube channel here who they sang the Mission Impossible theme. They were doing the like that. They just did that. And they got a copyright strike for doing the Mission Impossible theme with their mouths. And they had to fight it. Because that's all right. I will rant about this for a second. The way that companies protect their copyrights is they have automated software that just constantly like goes through YouTube and tries to catch videos that violate people's copyrights. And as soon as it catches it, it automatically makes a report. And then YouTube automatically believes it. There is no requirement on the part of YouTube on those reports to have some sort of human element to verify that it is an accurate report. That's my beef with YouTube. That there should be some sort of human element involved. That you should make sure that it's not a false positive, right? It's like there should be a human element involved to make sure that, I don't know, that it's not somebody, using that for fair use. If you're a sparkler, you should be very well familiar with the idea of somebody getting a copyright flag for fair use. I once got flagged once because I was using somebody's campaign commercial. So somebody else's campaign commercial that was using a mock-up that looked similar to the Olympics, but it wasn't really the Olympics imagery. It was like a parody of the Olympics. And I think it was the Sochi Olympics made a copyright claim on my channel for using the Olympics imagery. And I fought it because I'm like, this isn't the Olympics imagery. This is nowhere even close to looking like the Olympics imagery. And I successfully won it because they were like, oh, I guess you're right. Because there's no requirement for them to have a human to take a look at any of these claims and be like, oh yes, this is a valid claim. So just on YouTube, I mean, I think you also have similar things on Twitch and other places as well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Hal had the strike on Twitch for a while as well. But yeah, you just have these it's ridiculous. And for some reason that this one channel that was doing the I'm afraid to do it because I might get flagged too. They got flagged for using the Mission Impossible theme. I had posted on nerdydan.com. I had posted. Now it didn't flag me as, I don't think, as a copyright violation, but it did the other thing where it says, okay, well, if you're monetized, all of the money goes to the creator of the bit, so of the copyrighted material, and that's fine. I don't care. because nerdydan.com is very far away from being monetized, so I don't give it crap. But I posted a video at 10, right? And it finished processing maybe like at 10:01 or something. I got the email at 10:02 telling me that this video had a copyright, that it had a copyright warning on it. At 10:02. The minute mark that the copyright warning was at, like, of the video was like 4 minutes into the video or something. So it was physically impossible for somebody to have watched that video and found the copyright strike. So it had to be an automated process that found it. They must have been like fast forwarding through and finding it. So yeah. You can sing most songs live, but you can't record them and make money. And that's the thing here, though, with YouTube. If I'm singing it on YouTube, it's being recorded, and if I'm trying to make money, I'm trying to make money. So, am I still doing Satchmo? Yes, I did. I won a karaoke contest on the Carnival cruise ship and in Mardi Gras, I think it was. And if you go to youtube.com/nerdydan.com, you could see my performances of Satchmo doing "What a Wonderful World." Anyway, so maybe that'll get me a flag just from doing that. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Where is it? There it is. So, I hope that everybody in this chat has heard this audio. I hope, because it's been out enough. But if you haven't, here's the thing. Like, I had the whole discussion with Joshua Bernstein, the conservative dude, and I played that on last week's show, where he was, he was all insulting of me or whatever, and not believing that these papers. That the papers he had, he believed that the papers that he walked out of the White House with were automatically declassified. And that's Trump's legal theory, as stated, that he leaves the White House and they're automatically declassified as part of the Presidential Records Act, which they're not. But he's trying to muddy the water, and all the conservatives trying to argue on the behalf of Trump are all either purposely muddying the water or believing the people that are purposely muddying the water. But in reality, Trump knows that that these classified, top secret documents are not part of the Presidential Records Act, and that by simply walking out of the White House with these documents, that they're not automatically declassified. And the reason that we know if Bernstein is an asshat, we may actually do a live reaction of Bernstein. This is another reason why I should always listen on YouTube or watch on YouTube, because I don't think you'll hear this on, if we have enough time, I don't think you'll hear this on Blog Talk Radio if I have enough time to get to this. And even if I do have enough time I will have enough time to get to this if we run long, but I'll have to do it on YouTube anyway. So anyway, but here is the audio of Donald Trump showing 4 people a secret classified document that he kept.
These are bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
Well, it started right at the beginning.
When Milley's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in. That's right. Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Wow. We looked at something. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time, you know.
she'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert. By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying, because we were talking about it, and you know, he said he wanted to attack Iran and what?
These are the papers.
This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I know, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to figure out
As president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, you know, but this is
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so, we heard and you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's incredible, right?
No,
hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
First of all, he has no room to call anybody else a pervert. Mister, I can grab him by the hoo-ha whenever I want to. And he doubled down on because look, again, there's he can't claim that it was, nobody can claim it was locker room talk because during the deposition, he doubled down on the whole that's what people do. That's what they get to do. They get to grab him by the hoo-ha. I don't know why this isn't freaking working. I'm so annoyed. I don't know why this isn't freaking working. Anyway, so secondly, he says, I could have declassified, but now I can't. Meaning he's admitting that it's not declassified, that it is classified, it is secret. So therefore, that blows the whole Joshua Bernstein argument right out of the water. Right out of the water. Can't do it. Can't deal with it anymore. So, but, and bringing a boy, just to go back to your point about Biden having classified documents as well. Yes, so did Pence. But there's no evidence that Pence or Biden showed those documents to anybody else. They had them and they returned them. And had Trump simply returned them when asked, we would not have been in this situation. But he didn't simply return them when asked. He returned some of them, and then he returned some more of them, and then obstructed justice by lying to the grand jury subpoena by saying, here's all the ones that you subpoenaed. And then they asked, then there was proof that, oh no, there's more. So then he lied in the subpoena. So that's where Trump made his two big boo-boos. And this isn't even, that document that's being referred to isn't even part of this criminal case. That document's not even this. That's not even part of this criminal case. That could be brought up in another case that would be brought up in New Jersey. So, look, it's a secret smocking gun kafefi. Yes, it's the smocking gun. But simply, like, I don't know how you... I don't know how you can still defend him in this. I mean, you just have to be willfully blind at this point, because there's a clear difference between what Biden and Pence did, and look, and you might say, well, they still would have went after Trump, and I'll be honest with you, and you can believe me or not, and that's up to you. I think I've shown myself to be somebody who has integrity. I think I've shown myself to be somebody who is willing to criticize both sides of the aisle. I've done it for 12 years. If they would have gone after Trump, if he gave back everything, and then not gone after Pence, after Pence gave back everything, I would have a problem with it. Now, they couldn't have gone after Biden while he's still president, because the Justice Department has a policy where you can't go after a sitting president. It would have to be an impeachment, right? So they would have to have waited to go after Biden until after Biden stopped being president. But if the whole idea behind not going after people who have classified documents but who haven't done anything else with them except for just simply possessing them, who then return them, is the idea that if you go after people who have them and simply return them and don't do anything else wrong, you then make it less likely that they'll return them. You make it more likely that they'll hide them. So that's why they didn't go after Pence. That's why they didn't go after Biden. So thank you, Leanna, for coming back in. Appreciate you for joining again. Trump's own attorneys need to put a gag order on him. I mean, everybody gags when Trump talks, right? So what did Bernstein say? I miss it. Okay, we can play let's play the Bernstein clip again. Josh Bernstein, idiot. Here we go.
It's right that Pence and Biden were not supposed to have the documents that are marked classified top secret, secret or whatever. And when asked for all those documents back, they gave all the documents back. When Trump was asked for all the documents back, he did not give all the documents back. In fact, he gave a part of them back. And then when he was asked, you can sigh all you want, but when asked for, and then when it was subpoenaed for the rest of the documents, not only did he not give the rest of the documents back, he misled his own attorney, according to the indictment. I mean, I don't know if y'all read the indictment, but if you read the indictment, it clearly states that he told his own attorney that he was going to come down and he was going to go and he was going to search through some boxes and go through the rest of them and fill out and put them all in a folder and then sealed it with clear tape to be able to turn it back in or whatever. But he worked with his aide to put other boxes somewhere else. And then when he filled out this affidavit or whatever, said, yeah, these are all the documents, and had another attorney sign it, said, yeah, these are all the documents to submit back to the grand jury for the subpoena. So he lied to the grand jury saying, yeah, these are all the documents, but there were still more documents to be left. So if he didn't have, so he could have easily avoided prosecution here simply by returning all of the documents. And look, you can laugh all you want, Josh.
Okay, first of all, Liberal Dan, here's how dumb you are, okay? First and foremost, what Biden did was indeed a violation of the Classifications Act, okay? Why? Well, because he didn't have executive privilege, because he was the, quote, vice president. The president of the United States could take a piece of toilet paper, wipe his behind with it, leave the White House with it, and guess what? The second he's outside that White House, it is declassified. That is what the executive privilege is. He can take any document, and any president, by the way, from Obama to the Bushes to the Clintons and their socks and the socks drawer and everything else, anything is removed from the White House is automatically declassified based on the act alone. Okay, genius? That's how
I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to call you an idiot, but I'm going to call you uninformed.
Okay,
Josh, you are uninformed. The presidential record.
Right, I'm uninformed.
Presidential record. Yes, you are, because classified documents are a completely separate animal.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They're automatically declassified.
There's nothing in the law that automatically declassifies. No,
that's
you're manufacturing that.
All right, hang on, guys, hang on, one at a time. Let me ask you this, Liberal Dan, and then I'll get Josh's response, and then we got to move on to another caller. Josh mentioned, and others have mentioned, the sock case, the fact that you had all these recordings that President Clinton had, and some of it was very classified materials that he did not turn over. I mean, these were subpoenaed tapes, so they went to court, and the judge determined, well, it's his. He doesn't have to turn them over. So why would Bill Clinton not have to turn over these tapes that were in his sock drawer? And then Donald Trump has to turn over all these documents that are requested. Why is there that double standard, Liberal Dan?
Were those tapes marked as classified secret or top secret by any of the agencies that were able to that do mark those documents as secret, top secret, or classified? No, they were not. As such, they were not covered by the Espionage Act. A. B, So I mean, and look, he can laugh all he wants. He could make.
I'm not laughing. I'm telling you that Bill Clinton, as president of the United States, could do the exact same thing that Trump did.
You can cut me. I mean, look, you can cut me off all you want, but you're just you're uninformed, and you're misleading the audience. You're misleading the audience, and I'll call back to.
Liberal Dan, thank you for your call. All right, thank you for your call. And you can call back tomorrow if you want to talk about this in more detail. But
and I play more. There's another video where I uploaded it. There's more of what he says, and then there's more of my discussion of what he says on another video. So you can go watch the rest of that video on my channel. So go watch that video if you want to see the rest of it. But yeah, he is as Kimchi says, an illiterate treason weasel. I think that is a great word for it. I intend on calling into his show tomorrow around 10ish or so, because I absolutely want to be on the air, because I intend on asking him to apologize to me. I actually emailed him and asked for an apology, simply because of the fact that, because he said it himself that it's automatically declassified once he leaves the thing. Well, here's we've all heard the audio. Trump said it himself. Trump said it. It's not declassified. He could have declassified it, but it's not. It's still secret. If it's still secret, then it's not declassified. So there you go. And so we'll see if he admits that he's wrong. We'll see if he has a modicum of integrity. And if we do manage to have a little bit of time at the end of today's show, we may actually, there is a video that because I actually emailed him. I challenged him to come on, my show. And I was like, you want to call on my show and have a real discussion up to 3 hours, discuss the issue? You have plenty of time to back up your claims. And he claims that his audience is 100 times larger than mine. But I have no way of proving it, because he's been kicked off of every other platform that he's on. He's been kicked off of YouTube. He's been kicked off of Facebook. He's been kicked off of Twitter. He's been kicked off of every single place that he's been on. He's been kicked off. So I have no idea of confirming what he's been on. And then he wants me to pay him to debate him. I'm like, there's no way I'm paying you. I'm like, I've had Hal Sparks on my show for free. Why would I pay you? He's many times more famous than you are, and he's come on my show several times for free. I'm not paying you to come on my show, bruh. So I was basically like, look, are you going to admit that you were wrong on this upcoming show? Since the Trump audio was released of him clearly stating the document that he showed people was still secret and not declassified, and as such, not declassified simply by walking out of the White House. I'll wait to see if you have a modicum of integrity. Trump is charged with the espionage of 1917 before classified documents were labeled under the current classification system for war. Actually, Trump signed an amendment to the law that made punishment for mishandling of classified documents even harsher. And one would think that the person who signed into law an amendment that amends the Espionage Act that makes it punishments harder for mishandling of classified documents would make for damn sure that he could not be punished under that law. So you should go after him for defamation. Speaking of going after him for defamation, Donald Trump is suing E. Jean Carroll for defamation because E. Jean Carroll was not found to have proven her burden of proof in the civil case of her claims that he raped her. She was only found to have met her burden of proof that he sexually abused her. So that's why he is now filing a civil lawsuit against her for defamation on the claims that he raped her. I believe he will be laughed out of court. I believe he will lose the case, and just because she did not prove her case doesn't mean that she meets the requirements of defamation. He will lose that case bigly, as he likes to say. And I'm sure she will probably find a way to turn that around on him and sue him for like malicious maliciously using the courts against him some way and probably find a way to get even more money out of him. And I want to say that because of I think it was like $5.5 million or something that he owes her, and because like he couldn't get a bond on that or something, so basically he had to put the money up all at once. So like in order to make sure that, you know, like, so basically I think the money is in escrow as the case deals with appeals or whatever. So Haba is probably going to lose her license over this. Nice. The sock store crap was thrown out. It was his personal notes and cassette tapes. Exactly. Because, again, it was... That was not a classified document. I mean, the home dude wanted to say it was Monica Lewinsky's dress. Monica Lewinsky's dress is not a classified document. Toilet paper that he wipes himself on, that he wipes himself with is not a classified document. You know, he's very confused about the difference between a presidential record and a classified document. They're two completely separate and different things. Home dude just doesn't know. Anyway, so home dude also sent me a separate email completely saying that Juneteenth is a total lie. It is a made-up holiday like Kwanzaa, you know, the fake Christmas time jubilee made up by a convicted black rapist or whatever. We're going to see if we may see if we're going to go over Josh Bernstein's video that he posted on Rumble. We're going to see. That's the other point that I made. That's like I made 3 points to counter Josh Bernstein when I called into Jeff like last Wednesday or something about why Josh Bernstein was wrong. One of them is the fact that if these items were declassified, why did the judge require his attorneys to get clearance to see them? So, yeah, he's clearly racist. I mean, he's clearly racist. Only thing that gives me pause to not react to it is simply because I'm afraid that YouTube might be like, this is a horrible video, you're showing horrible things on your channel, take it, and we're going to take you down because of it. But anywho, see, oh, House Barks just shared something for patrons only. That's cool. Aaron commented about I lost brain cells on the Patreon app. Hilarious. Ooh, my spot is secured for something new on Patreon. That's awesome. Cool. Let's see. In which retired four-star Army general spoke with reporters about matters that authorities believe they're top secret? I mean, look. Requesting a search warrant for Petraeus' Arlington, Virginia home for the FBI agent told federal magistrate the agency had 2 audio recordings of which the 400. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you could bring up a lot of whataboutisms, sure, but fact of the matter is there was a subpoena where they got to look at the videotape. They looked at the videotapes. The videotapes showed that they were moving around these boxes. So they got the subpoena for Trump's property showing that they were moving these boxes around. Then they found these boxes, and the boxes have these additional documents. Trump clearly was shown to have been shown to have obstructed justice, and now he's facing criminal charges for obstructing justice, and he could face a lot of time in prison. How much time? Well, there's a Legal Eagle channel posted a video trying to explain exactly how much time he might face for the obstruction of justice, and it could be 17 and a half years, maybe. We'll see. It's just a matter of what the discretion that the judge uses with the sentencing guidelines, because they're guidelines. They're not real rules. They're not a requirement. They're guidelines. So we'll have to see about that. Anywho. Before we get to Josh Bernstein and whether or not I decide whether or not I want to do a live reaction to his BS, yeah, we're gonna P-dubs. We're gonna get to that too before we get to that. So first of all, Putin. The whole Putin thing is hilarious. I can only imagine the whole discussion going on in the Kremlin right now when one of Putin's generals or something comes up to Vlad, like, "Hello, Vladimir. Yevgeny is revolting," and Putin would be like, "Yeah, of course he is revolting. He's a horrible person. That's why we hired him to do horrible things." And then the general is like, no, yes, I know that, but he's literally revolting. He's coming. He's 100 miles from Moscow." And what? What do you mean he's 100 miles from Moscow? He's supposed to be in Ukraine. It's like, no, he's revolting. He's going to have a coup. So, yeah. So, the fact that, I mean, Putin damn near almost lost control of his country because of this. And, like, the Russian Secret Service or Russian security forces or security department or whatever knew about this and was going on, and that didn't warn him or whatever, and other in the military people apparently knew about it as well, and he got within 100 miles of Moscow. Like, wow, like, it's not necessarily looking that good for old Vlad. And I'm sure the Ukrainians were like, this is pretty sweet. I could only imagine what would have happened had Yevgeny gotten all the way to Moscow. That would have been some popcorn-worthy events right now. And I think Philip Bittner was on Hal's show the other day to talk about this a good bit. But I know whataboutism, Robert, is not a cop-out, because it's a whataboutism is an attempt to divert away from it. Like, and that's what conservatives do a lot of the times, though. It's an attempt. Like, whenever I talk about, like, Colin and Jeff show, for example, and I try and talk about what Trump did, and, well, what about Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton did this person did this person did that. And I'm like, no. If you can't defend Donald Trump based on Donald Trump's actions in and of themselves, then what Donald Trump did is indefensible. You need to defend Donald Trump on what Donald Trump did or didn't do. If you can't do that, then you have to admit that what Donald Trump did is wrong. Simple as that.
So, did Trump violate the law? Did Trump not violate the law? If Trump violated, Trump's violation, the question of whether or not Trump violated the law has nothing to do with what Clinton did with the sock drawer, has nothing to do with Monica Lewinsky's dress, like Joshua Bernstein brought up, has nothing to do with anything else other than what did Trump do? What is Trump alleged to have done? Did he do what he alleged to, did he do what he was alleged to have done or not? Simple as that. That's all there is to it. Was the number needed higher on a D20 roll to hit an armor class of 0? These people, you haven't even read the indictment, Stan. And that's... But even if there's things that are comparable to it, each case in and of themselves has their own things. And in sentencing guidelines, for example, there are things that are... A lot of times in like sentencing guidelines, they do deal with things and try and make sentencing issues, try and keep them similar if they're similar type of crimes, for example. But even if there are certain things that are comparable, certain things they're not. This guy was the president of the freaking United States. Petraeus was not. This guy, there's a huge difference there. He was the leader of the free world. He was entrusted as the leader of the free... No, I mean, I didn't trust him. But, he was supposed to be entrusted as the person who was the president of the most powerful nation on the planet. And that comes with a lot of responsibility. So I think we should be able to set a very high standard for that. And I think with that comes a responsibility to act right. And if you don't act right, potentially there should be an example made of you if you don't. Here's a comparable. Reality winner got 5 years for one damn classified doc. Sit the F down. Yeah, there you go. One classified doc, 5 years.
how many classified docs, and Trump's not even on trial for the classified doc that we know he showed people yet. Like, he should be on trial. And this is the thing. This is the funny thing. The Department of Justice apparently was not convinced. They were torn. There were some people who wanted to charge Trump, and there were some people who didn't want to charge Trump. They were torn about it until this audio surfaced. Once people were made aware of the audio, they're all like, okay, we got to charge him at this point, because they knew that he was showing people these classified documents. So they came after him for the whole thing. But they didn't even go after him. They haven't even gone after him for that document that he showed anybody yet. So here's the thing. Are they going to? I don't know. Why don't I know? Well, there was so many documents in that house at Mar-a-Lago, and that wasn't at Mar-a-Lago. That was at Bedminster. And the only reason they went after, like, the 31 documents or whatever that they chose to go after is there may have been even worse documents that he had that he could have put at risk, that the Department of Justice were like, well, we don't want these being part of discovery because we don't want anybody seeing these. Because if they see these, it puts our intelligence operations or other other people or other assets at risk. So by making these part of discovery and having more people be able to see them, we risk having this be a problem. Right? So they had to make a decision as to which ones they're going to include and which ones they don't. So they had to pick and choose their battles here. So, like Pokemon, you got to get them all. Yeah. But yes, he moved documents, he shared documents, and ultimately the problem, and what gets everyone, is he obstructed justice. Because that's ultimately, especially with federal crimes, where all of these people screw up. It's the obstruction of justice. That's where they usually screw the pooch the most, is they obstruct justice. There was Mohammed bin Salman with the copier in the chandelier shitter. Do I win? Yes, you won Clue. There you go. We should make a new version of Clue that's like in Mar-a-Lago. That would be hilarious. Clue-a-lago. But like as part of it, you need to move classified documents all over the place. But that's the thing, like the whole declassified with his mind thing. I mean, that's an interesting legal theory, but in practice it doesn't work. And I even made Jeff agree to this, the morning show guy, because there's hypothetically multiple copies of a single classified document. So if I have classified document 2AB70412, I don't know how they label classified documents, but 2AB7412 is the name of my hypothetical classified document. So I'm going to have 2AB7412, and I'm going to email it to somebody who needs to have it emailed, but it's going to be more classified, right? I'm going to be sending it to them encrypted to their cell phone in an encrypted way, and it's going to be sent, and they're going to see it, and it's going to be marked classified, eyes only, whatever. And I'm going to have a couple of printed out copies, and one's going to go to the president, and one's going to go to each member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and one's going to go to the person who's in charge of the operation. So maybe there's like 4 hard copies and an electronic copy out there. President leaves office one day, but they're still classified. The president leaves office one day and goes, that's declassified. In my mind, that's declassified. So now it's declassified in the mind of the president. Well, it's still classified in the email of so-and-so, and then in the hands of the Joint Chiefs and the person running the operation. So all these people are treating this document as if it's classified. Meanwhile, in the mind of the president, it's not classified. So now you have Schrodinger's classified document. Is it classified? Is it not classified? Who knows? Clearly, the only way to deal with that is by having some sort of paper trail that says, I'm going to take this document and any other documents that I want to declassify, including 27A14B or whatever I called it, And I'm going to make an executive order saying, I, President Dan Zimmerman, do hereby declassify the following documents. And I write down all the numbers and serial codes or whatever of all of the classified documents that I want declassified, and I send them out to everyone. Say, here are all the documents that are declassified by my executive order. Boom. And I publish it. So now anybody who has any of these classified documents can now know, okay, these are now declassified. You can now do whatever with them that you wish. So now there's a paper trail. So now if I have them in my bathroom as reading material, and somebody comes into my bathroom and is like, oh, this is marked top secret because I forgot to take it off its fold or whatever, and somebody wants to claim that I violated some rule or some law on this, I can be like, nope, see, here's my paper trail. Here's my get out of jail free card. I already put this on a declassification list, and here's the executive order. It was signed January 19th of the date that before I was going to leave office. Nothing you can do about it. It's my executive authority for me to do this, and so it's declassified. Too bad, so sad. Oh. So I like, do not go to directly Dale. Do not collect gaslighting. Nice. Do not forget to click your heels. Use the secret sock drawer. Can't declassify nuclear weapons documents without a commission. Fair enough. But generally speaking, you know, if for those documents that he has the power to declassify, you know, there should be a paper trail. You know, he could say all he wants that he has the power to declassify something with his mind, but if there's no paper trail, there's no proof. And if again, as I said before, if I'm the president that signed into law something that's gonna make the mishandling of these documents have a harsher penalty, guess what? I'm going to make for damn sure that there's a paper trail showing that I declassified any of these documents that I'm taking to make sure that I can't be held criminally liable and thrown into jail or prison for the longer term that I just put for mishandling of these documents. Hey, Alarasia, what's going on? Nice to see you. Wait till judges have to repeat that over and over with Trump on the stand. Yeah, of course. That'll be interesting. All right, SCOTUS. Let's get to SCOTUS. I was shook. I was absolutely shook that this took place. I wasn't surprised that how Thomas and Alito voted, and Gorsuch. I was shook that Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh went along with Roberts and the liberals on this one. Well, Kavanaugh wrote a concurring opinion, and Kavanaugh maybe left the door open on his concurring opinion for maybe some things later down the line. But I was shook at the fact that the conservative activist Supreme Court basically almost closed the door shut on the so-called independent state legislature theory, which was the most mind-numbingly stupid idea that was one of the most dangerous ideas for democracy that I've ever heard coming out of these idiots' mouths. And they did something right, and they've done a couple of other things shockingly right as well. When they, like for example, when they overturned the Alabama, gerrymandering as well. I was shocked about that too. I mean, that shook me, especially with Roberts and how Roberts gutted 4 and 5 of the Voting Rights Act, but decided to magically keep 3. And now the Supreme Court also decided that they were going to tell Louisiana also, hey, Louisiana, you too, redraw your maps. So John Bel Edwards, who vetoed the maps, and the legislature overrode his veto, John Bel Edwards basically gets to go, hey, I was right, bastards. Redraw this map now, and you have to put 2 majority-minority districts in place. Tough tiddlywinks on you. So Louisiana may very well have 2 Democratic districts in the 2024 elections. So the amount of Democratic districts coming out of Louisiana may increase by 1. Shocking, I know. It's crazy. We won't have this ridiculous district that I showed in the podcast a few weeks back. Wait, what? Should have been unanimous. Should have been unanimous, and whether or not it was going to be unanimous is two different things. Thomas and Alito were never going to side against the independent state legislator theory. Well, I mean, you also have the idea that Thomas didn't think they should be hearing this case to begin with because it was a non-issue. Because you no longer had the argument, because at the time you had the Supreme Court of North Carolina, which was a democratically controlled Supreme Court, and now you have a Republican-controlled Supreme Court. But Justice Roberts was like, well, it's still a question that is asked and that needs to be answered, so we're going to answer it. Which I'm glad he did, especially now. But the thing is that not only did Roberts say that needed to be answered, the kicker is that the Republican Party, the GOP, said that it needed to be answered. And I was like, good. That's awesome. Like, the GOP is like, we feel that we have this in the bag, so let's push on forward, and let's try and make sure that we get this so we can have our independent state legislatures, so we can do all sorts of shitty things. And they failed. And it's great. It is great that they failed at this. So Chief Justice Roberts basically said that the U.S. Constitution does not, as lawmakers claimed, insulate their actions from review by state courts. To the contrary, he said the state legislative power is constrained by federal and state constitutions as well as ordinary state laws. At the same time, Roberts says, in overseeing election provisions, state courts do not have free rein to exceed the ordinary bounds of judicial review. How to know when courts do exceed that power, the court majority didn't say, leaving for another day the task of articulating a standard for determining when federal courts may tell a state court that it has gone too far for interpreting state law. So they didn't put in place any tests, which is, I mean, fine. They didn't have to put in any tests. There wasn't any established tests there, which is fine. So Thomas was like, there's no live controversy, so we shouldn't have done it. Gorsuch joined the second part of the Thomas dissent, which disputed the majority's conclusion on the merits of the case. Specifically at issue was the decision by the North Carolina Supreme Court, said that the state legislature violated the constitutional provisions barring partisan gerrymanders. As a result, the state court ultimately drew new congressional district lines for the 2020 election. The GOP-dominated state legislature appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The lawmakers contended that the federal Constitution's provision delegating the state legislature's power to set the time, place, and manner of elections means that only the legislature can make election rules, therefore that only the legislature can draw maps. This means that state courts can rule state-drawn maps unconstitutional, as well as the federal courts, which is good. Robert Douglas, gerrymandering issues again. That's what you always go after when you find something. You find false gerrymandering, just messing with you, liberal Dan. I mean, yeah, I hate gerrymandering. Gerrymandering sucks. We should get rid of gerrymandering by getting rid of congressional districts. That's never going to happen. That's my pipe dream. My pipe dream is getting rid of gerrymandering by getting rid of districts. But, you know, a man can dream, can't he? But they're never going to do it. I'm never going to get it. Never ever going to get it. No, I'm never going to get it. See, that worked. My sad trombone worked. I don't know why the sad trombone worked, but the Donald Trump didn't work.
It is what it is.
And that worked now, too. What's going on? Okay, maybe it's just I have to play one of these sounds first before the automatic sound thing. Okay, maybe that's it. Maybe I just have to play one of these other sounds first in order for me to get the Trump sound to work.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. You finally decided to work. Maybe Donald just doesn't work all the time. Not surprising. Interesting. Let's see. UCLA law professor Richard Hansen went further, noting that Tuesday's decision gives the federal courts a lot of new power over state courts. They've preserved for themselves the rights to be the ultimate arbiter of whether state courts have gone too far. The decision harkens back to Bush v. Gore. Florida State Court went too far when they ordered a partial recount of the votes. I think that's the price liberal justices paid in order to get an opinion that rejected the most extreme version. I think that there's going to be a lot of litigation, but I question how successful litigation will be. Others saw the decision as a clear defeat for the independent state legislature theory. Decision was resounding, reverberating victory for American democracy, as some say. This is a very forceful repudiation of the premise of the independent state legislature idea. What this case does is reaffirms the flexibility that states have to confer power in different institutions in a way that deals with the challenges confronted by modern democracy. This is a good thing. It's a very good thing. The independent state legislature theory, it wasn't just an issue with gerrymandering. It isn't just an issue with rules. It's an issue. People were trying to use the independent state legislature theory to be able to do things like overturn the will of the people and just assign new electors. That's one of the things that Rudy was trying to do in 2020. And they were trying to get the state legislatures to just vote for new electors by saying, well, we're the state legislature, we can do what we want. So if we want to pick new electors, we can do so. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. So my pipe dream, Chris says, is getting rid of Jerry. He keeps stealing tomatoes from my garden. Hilarious. Which was too loud? The it is what it is, or the sad trombone. And this is the funny thing. One of the things, going back to the Trump leaked tape thing, the Trump thing about the classified document, Newsmax says Trump could be lying. Newsmax says, you know how he is. Forgot to talk about this earlier. So the excuse for this audio that Donald Trump, I guess maybe he knew he was being recorded, so they believe that he may have been lying to the people that he was talking to, supposedly off the record, that this document he was saying to these people that this document was really classified and secret to these people, when it really wasn't secret or classified, he was just lying to these people to make himself look impressive, but in reality it was still declassified. Is that what they're trying to go for? Really? This is how pathetic and desperate some of these people are. I mean, come on. Jerry was a possum. Jerry was a squirrel. We all know from Primus that Jerry was a race car driver. I mean, come on. So, let's see. Jerry was at Mandering. He was matering. Jerry might have been rigging. That's jury rigging. I think, is that jury rigging or jury rigging? Don't say the other thing. Yeah, please don't say the other thing. See, when will SCOTUS issue opinion on student loan? It automatically completed it for me. Look at that. It's like Google knows me. It's spying. Blockbuster Supreme Court decision student loan. Let's see. Justices will hand down their next round of opinions on Thursday. Supreme Court has left this term's blockbuster decisions for last, with rulings expecting this week on student loans, affirmative actions, and more. The justices will hand down our next round of opinions on Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. There are 7 total cases remaining from the term that began in October. The rulings will decide the fate of millions of Americans with federal student loans, a 40-year precedent in race-conscious college admissions, and LGBTQ plus rights. On Tuesday, they did this, blah, 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 blah. And since the end of the month is on the 30th, I tend to believe that maybe tomorrow is the last day of the opinions. When is the last day for Supreme Court decisions 2023? Calendars and lists. Supreme Court calendar, October turn 2023. According to supremecourt.gov. They don't even list anything for the 20... Well, that's... I don't even know what that is. Opening conference, September 26th, 20... I don't even... Oh, that's 2024. Well, that's the October turn, 2023. So October 2022. Session beginning October 31st, 2022. Is that what I'm looking for? Oh, that's just the cases. Is this also just the case? That's also just the cases. Weird. Oh, Supreme Court calendar. There we go. That's what I want. Still no idea. This still doesn't give me what I want. From whatever on, I'm going to call whatever Jerry does Mandarin. Nice. Let's see. I'm going to call that Redneck Engineering, Dan. Fair enough. All my squirrels are named Shafid. I'm just calling it Shafid. We unfortunately found a young possum in my clothes, and they were dead. It was dead. So we had to wash all the clothes. And then I saw another possum crawling in the garage, and I went ahead and looked in the clothes again and found another possum in my clothes, but fortunately it was still kind of moving around. So I let it out into the backyard and let it go scamper off on its way, and then I washed those clothes again too. So... Hello, Putin. How you doing? My good friend Putin. How are you?
It is what it is.
Thank you, Vlad. It's good to hear from you. Have a good night, Aaron. Wait, let me close your ears if this is too loud. Aaron horn. So, anywho. We have 45 minutes. Putin hard week. Yeah. Yevgeny was very hard on you, Putin. Let's see. Do we or do we not do clothing need washed before they get in? Well, I mean, the clothes were already washed and they were waiting to be folded and put away when the possum crawled in them and died, which means I needed to go wash them again because who the hell knows what was in there afterwards. How to catch a possum? Put salt on its tail and you get to keep it. What? I don't understand. I don't understand what that means. Frankly, I'm a little terrified to play this damn video from whatchamacallit, from Bernstein, because I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know if it's going to be a safe thing to.
Welcome back to the program.
No, we're not. I don't know. Let's see if there's other videos that we want to play. Let's see if there's another video that might be a better one to play to mock good old Josh Bernstein on. Let's see, House Republic. Let's look at his video titles and just see what they're called. We'll see if there's any good ones that stand out. Reuters pushing reparations, leftists plotting to retake school boards, and the butthurt FBI is lying. Oh, he does have 2,430 followers on Rumble, so I guess he does have more followers on Rumble. I mean, no news on whether or not those people are actually real or not. They could be bots, but I guess he is right that he claims to have 100 times more followers than I do. I guess his math is wrong, because 6, 12, 18, 24, he only has 4 times more followers than I do. So his math is a little off there. Is that what he said? He said hundreds. Let's look at that math again. Where is it? Liberal Dan Radio. Challenge to you. Seeing that my audience is hundreds times larger than yours. Hundreds times larger. If it was 100 times larger than me, 600 times 100 is 6,000, 60,000. You would have to have at least, and hundreds would mean multiple hundreds. So 6,000, 60,000. He would have to have 120,000. He would have to have 120,000 followers to be hundreds times larger than mine. He only has 2.4 thousand. So, I'm not surprised his math is terrible. Let's see. SCOTUS' busy week. The IRS wants you snipe you dead at night. Voting machine companies plan for 2024. Josh Live. America's first car-free community. How we win 2024. Planned Parenthood's new cash cow. Bud Light's new ad fail. Core says hold my beer. Elon versus Mark and lab-grown chicken. Yuck. House Republicans finally censure pencil neck Schiff and woke CEO of OceanGate's grave mistake. Copycat network Hunter gets off and not on his laptop. BlackRock exposed, and Josh Tradmus strikes again. Good night Taiwan. Tony Blinken surrenders to his CCP masters and greenlights China invasion. Dr. Naomi Wolf uses Pfizer's own documents to show the vaccines were likely a depopulation program. Another Josh Bernstein funny thing. How Thomas Massey helped kill censure vote on Adam Schiff and DeSantis indicted next. Blue Truth video shows nanotechnology in the bodies of vaccinated dead people still active. Our vaccine injury lawsuits about to explode, and here's how your tax money is being spent in Ukraine. Targets imploding on how our bodies react to sexual mutilation, and a sick threat against Wendy Rogers. I don't know. A land of the free? America is nowhere near a free country anymore, and this historical data proves it. I'm sure it does. I don't even want to... do I want to know? I don't even know if I want to know that or not. Let's see. I don't even know if I want to read any of his stuff. Let's see. Assuming a Rumble follow and YouTube follow is a 1-for-1. Yeah, it's also the case. You never know. Vincent Owens must be going. Thanks for all the fun. You are wonderful humanitarians. Thank you very much for joining the rest of the Danimals. The liberal Danimals. Robert Douglas, I like your moxie. You go on a show, debate the host, and you find a way to keep your head up. Well, I mean, that's what I do. to repeatedly quote the Obama thing. I like to do that. Let's see, what else does Josh Bernstein had? I don't even want to go there. White House false flag pistol braces safe for whatever. Why should never show? Let's go back to that one. What is the one that sounds like it's probably terrible, but what was it? So wasn't that one? Land of the free. America is nowhere near a free country anymore, and this historical data proves it. Okay, let's see if there's a summary. This is one of my most let's see. Let's just read it. What it says. This is one of my most important shows, and I want all of you to share it, so it'll be on my homepage. It doesn't matter if they are left or right or the middle. The data is accurate, I'm sure it is, and devoid of any narrative, just cold hard facts. Well, facts is in caps. Sadly, America is just a shell of what it once was, and our rapid decline seems to be accelerating, not slowing down. Hopefully there can be a political solution. However, in all likelihood, there may come a time each and every one of us will have to make sacrifices that could change the trajectory. The projectory? Is that a word? Let's look at it. Is that a word? Projectory. A project whose trajectory is knowable. Really? Projectory or trajectory? What's the difference? As nouns, the difference between trajectory and projection is that trajectory is the projection versus trajectory. Is projectory a word? We think the word trajectory is a misspelling. Trajectory. Did you mean trajectory? So yes. I did not come up with animals. I think that was Aaron, maybe, who came up with that. But let's see. Of our lives in order to save and maintain our freedoms. Be prepared, be alert, and keep fighting always, is what he says. So let's see. Do we watch this? I say let's give it a shot. Let's give this bad boy a shot. And we're going to see this guy's ugly mug. And we're gonna try and... I'm sure he meant trajectory, but the volume is... My volume is low, like my audio, or the audio of... or the audio... my volume of this audio, or the audio of the sounds, like the...
It is what it is.
That audio. All right. So here we go. Let's,
How to escape the heat if you don't have an air conditioner.
The Josh Bernstein Show are solely those of the host and do not reflect those of any of the show's advertisers or sponsors.
Sure, whatever. The Josh Bernstein Show.
President Trump could cure cancer tomorrow and rescue kittens from a burning building.
I'm sure
and
he
they'd
could.
still call him a piece of...
I mean, I'd appreciate it if he saved a kitten from a burning building. Sure. But, you know, he'd still be a piece of, you know.
I don't want to drain the swamp. What I want to do is I want to drown these swamp monsters in their own swamp water.
That's very cute and funny.
And now,
America's giant turd, Josh Bernstein.
favorite bald badass.
America's favorite bald badass. Yeah, such a badass.
Josh Bernstein.
Welcome back to the program. This is going to be one of my most important shows that I have ever done, okay?
Is that like, you know, how this is the most important election ever?
Okay? We're not going to really talk about politics so much in this one. We're not
Sure.
going to talk about different stories that are happening in the news, although, of course, we know what happened today, which we'll very briefly touch on.
Here, let's do this real quick. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's do... Let's put this over his ads. It's just in the middle.
But what we're going to talk about is data. And data that honestly is not very good. And this data is some data that I have thought about doing for a while now. And I think what happened today was the catalyst to say, finally, do this type of show. And that is what we are going to do right now. So, we all know what happened today. President Trump was indicted on more of these BS charges.
Yes, he was indicted.
And again, as I said earlier,
actually, let's do this real quick too. We're going to do this because we don't need to see his ads.
Today on Jeff Carrera's show on WGSO 990 that I've been doing for the past 7 years, every Thursday morning at 8 a.m., that it was, again, another part of this witch hunt. But more importantly, they charged Trump with the exact code that they refused to charge Kankles McPantsuit Hillary Clinton with. And that is U.S. Code 18793, destruction or removal.
Kankles McPantsuit, huh? He's very mature.
Of classified documents. Trump, as I've said before, and I don't need to keep repeating myself, he could literally...
Yeah, Putin. This is Josh not being political. I'm not going to be political, but I'm going to call Hillary Clinton Kankles McPantsuit.
Wipe his behind and take the toilet paper out of the White House, and by his act alone, it is declassified. So...
Actually, hold on. Let's go. We're gonna start from the beginning again because we're gonna let's start from the beginning because I think I might have skipped something. I don't know. It seemed like he skipped something. So I'm gonna stop the recording of it. We're gonna start it again just because I want to start from again. So because we're gonna upload this really quickly. So all right, let's start again.
Josh Bernstein.
Hey.
Welcome back to the program. This is going to be one of my most important shows that I have ever done.
Again, I'm sure it's going to be one of his most important shows ever. Ever.
Okay? We're not going to really talk about politics so much in this one.
Not about politics so much, just a little bit. Not so much, though.
We're not going to talk about different stories that are happening in the news, although, of course, we know what happened today, which will very briefly...
We're not talking about different stories in the news, but we're going to talk about one story in the news.
Touch on. But what we're going to talk about is data. And data that honestly is not very good. And this data
is not very good.
Is some data that I have thought about doing for a while now. And I think what happened today was the catalyst to say, finally, do this type of show. And that is what we are going to do right now.
Ooh, boy. Hold on to your hats, guys.
We all know what happened today. President Trump was indicted on more of these BS charges.
BS charges.
And again, as I said earlier today on Jeff Carrera's show on WGSO 990 that I've been doing for the past 7 years, every Thursday morning at 8 a.m., that...
8 a.m. his time, which I think he's calling in from Arizona, which is the West Coast, so because it's 10 a.m. in New Orleans, because that's when Jeff's on, so...
It was, again, another part of this witch hunt, but more importantly, they charged Trump with the exact code that they refused to charge Kankles McPantsuit Hillary Clinton with.
Again, we're not being political, but Kankles McPantsuit.
And that is U.S. Code 18793, destruction or removal of classified documents.
But remember, when Hillary was doing her job, the law was different than when Trump was doing his job because Trump changed the law. He doesn't seem to get that. They don't seem to understand that. Trump made the penalties much harsher.
Trump, as I've said before, and I don't need to keep repeating myself, he could literally wipe his behind and take the toilet paper out of the White House, and by his act alone, it is declassified.
Toilet paper with crap on it is not classified in the first place. I don't know why he's obsessed with this whole wiping his butt with toilet paper. There's no classification there. This is the dumbest argument in the world. I don't know why he's obsessed with Donald Trump's crap on toilet paper. I mean, maybe he's has a fetish, and I don't kink shame here on Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. So if that's your fetish, Josh, cool. I mean, you don't need to share it with the world if that's your kink, but you know, that has nothing to do with classification or classified documents or whatever. One has nothing to do with it. Doesn't even have to do with presidential records. But let's go on.
So Jack Off Smith has no case. Story.
Oh, there we go. More maturity from him. You know, not Jack Smith, but Jack Off Smith. You know, because we're funny.
For another day. But it's not about the fact that President Trump was indicted once again on these garbage charges. What I want to talk about is, how did we get there? How
Donald Trump took documents that he wasn't supposed to get, and then when asked to return them, he only returned some of them, and then when subpoenaed by the grand jury to return the rest of them, he still only returned some of them, but signed a document saying they returned the rest of them, and then when they had a search warrant to find the rest of them, they found the rest of them. That's why we're here. I guess Josh Bernstein is probably going to say something differently.
How did we get to the point now where we no longer have a judicial system that works for the people?
We're not quite at the judicial system part yet. We just got to it. The Department of Justice is part of the executive branch. Maybe you need to go retake your civics class, dude. But the Department of Justice is part of the executive branch, not the judicial branch. And the judge that is now overseeing this case was appointed by your dude, Trump. So, I mean, and when she was dealing with some of this part earlier, she was actually making rulings that benefited your dude. So, I don't know what you're crying about yet. Let's go on.
And that is what we're going to discuss today.
Oh boy! We're a few minutes in now, and now we're finally actually getting to the meat of the issue.
So the first thing I'm going to say is this. Home of the brave, land of the free, garbage. Not anymore, folks. Hasn't been since it...
I thought we were the land of the free and the home of the Whopper. Oh wait, that's Burger King.
At least the 1970s, 1980s. But you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to take what I'm telling you as fact.
I mean, I listen to you so that other people don't have to. I mean, I guess other people are listening to you now, but most people can't listen to you because you've gotten kicked off of every platform that you're on. But, you know, except for me, I guess Rumble.
I will do what I always do. I will show you. I will give you the data to prove it. Okay? So, let's...
I am waiting with anticipation and bated breath.
Look at this image here first and foremost, and all these images today are going to be full screen. In 1975, according...
Okay, I guess let me take down the Venmo image so y'all can see a full copy of what's going on here. So, if you want to Venmo me, now's the time.
To the World Economic Index, the United States was ranked in the top 10 most freest countries in the entire world. As a matter of fact, they were ranked number 10. You now see in the next column, in 1980, 5 years later, they were ranked number 9.
So when Nixon was president, and then when Carter was president, we went up one spot. Okay.
Those were, of course, the start of the Reagan years.
1980 was not the start of the Reagan years, but...
And so on and so forth. Through those Reagan years, by 1985, they got all the way down to number 6.
Technically, that would be up.
And by 1990, after Reagan and his Reagan Revolution changed America for the better, America was ranked...
Oh, that's subjective.
Ranked in the top 5. As a matter of fact, in 1990, it was ranked number 5, and in 1990...
I mean, I have to question this is from Walter Block, so I have to question the methodology that was used to calculate this, but, you know.
It was ranked number 4 most freest countries in the world. Now, how did that happen? Well, it happened because of limited government. It happened because of cutting spending. It happened because of lowering taxes. And it happened because we had, for the most part...
More actually, it was like deficit spending, I believe, is how that happened, because we were deficit spending, because we were burdening the children and the grandchildren of the future with a whole bunch of debt while we were fighting the Cold War, and we were saddling the future with lots and lots of debt while enriching the wealthy. Yeah, that's more likely what happened, but, you know, let's continue.
A very robust freedom of the press. We were allowed to say what we wanted to say. We were allowed to be Americans and not be censored and not have all of these horrible things from the government.
Yes, in 1985, no one would get kicked off of YouTube for saying false things about vaccines.
Government dictated to us and happening to us, right? We'll take a look at this one, okay? By 2002, only 7...
By 2002? 2002 or 22? Because reading is fundamental, I guess.
Years later, after 9/11, of course, and then the ill-advised, ill-named Patriot Act, the Unpatriot Act, which...
Hey! I can agree with Joshua Bernstein on one thing. It was ill-named. We don't like the Patriot Act. So, hey, I can find one common ground with Josh Bernstein. That somehow makes me feel dirtier than I should.
Which allowed the spying on American citizens and, of course, the creation of the 4th largest entity of the United States government, the Department of Homeland Security. Well, America dropped all the way down to number 23. No longer...
Number 23, dropping down the charts, down 7 from the year 2018 down to 2020. We are now at 23 with the United States. Never gonna give you up. Sorry.
No longer in the top 10. Okay? Now, in this...
Jeff Curry in the chat. Trickle down does work in nursing homes. Yes, in multiple ways.
Image here, in only 21 years, under the weaponization of the intel community...
The weaponization of the intel community. Okay.
The rise of big tech censorship, the pandemic, the infiltration...
Ooh, the pandemic. I hope that doesn't get me censored on YouTube, because they said that one word. That's false. YouTube censors. I don't agree. The pandemic was real. Please don't ban me for criticizing somebody for saying that word. He's a terrible person.
Of the CCP into our government and our media, the corrupt and lawless FBI, Department of Justice, CIA.
I remember when conservatives thought Blue Lives Matter and liked the law enforcement. I guess now they don't. They only like law enforcement. Actually, no. Conservatives only like law enforcement when they go after black people. That's when conservatives like law enforcement. When law enforcement goes after their own, that's when conservatives hate law enforcement.
NSA, and of course, not just the 2020 stolen election, but even the
2020 election was not stolen.
Midterms of 2022, America now ranks a pathetic 39th most free.
Down from 27 to 39, falling down the charts from this crazy whatever it is chart, made up by whatever subjective BS that we want to claim is a valid index.
Country. As a matter of fact, I couldn't fit America on the first page. I had to do a second page because they weren't even on the first page anymore. They're in the right-hand column on the second side. Okay? Now, let's talk about some more stuff here. And I'm going to break down some of the information that you are seeing here. Because, yes, what does the 39th ranked country out of like 170 countries really mean? Well, quite a bit, to be quite honest. And every American should be not only ashamed of themselves for not fighting back harder, but more importantly, you should be outraged that you are no longer the home of the brave and the land of the free. Clearly, that is a mirage and a myth, unfortunately. Now, let's go back to...
It is a mirage and a myth.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald.
This image. Now, what is most troubling in this image, and there's a lot that's troubling in this image, is the index on economic freedom. We are no longer ranked as a, quote, free economic system or a free economic country. And instead, we are now ranked mostly free. And I will say this.
He's only mostly dead. He's not totally dead. He's just mostly dead.
That's probably a gift too. And why do I say that? Well, I guess when your country is $32 trillion in debt, when you add in unfunded liabilities, you're talking about $108 to $109 trillion in unpaid liabilities in debt. And then they just raised the debt ceiling, oh, I don't know, for the 79th time in a row without ever having a plan to ever pay it down. It might actually be a gift rating to be, quote, mostly free. Here's something I personally am very, very aware of, and that is press freedom, or shall we say, lack thereof. Okay? America's First Amendment rights to freedom of speech have been under assault ever since the turn of the century. And of course, with that was the rise of big tech and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so on and so forth. And so it's no wonder that we no longer have a, quote, good rating, and instead
it's no wonder that we no longer have a good rating.
Instead, it's just satisfactory. Well,
yeah, like that's the thing. That's a good question, Agolf. Ranked by who? That's the part. Like I don't see who is doing the ranking. It's just a random like chart that's posted that looks like it could be on Wikipedia somewhere.
I don't even think it is satisfactory, folks. I personally think it is nowhere near satisfactory. It is definitely problematic, and it's getting worse each and every day. And of course, last but certainly not least, what is the state of our so-called constitutional republic? I don't like using the word democracy. You know the reasons why. In a democracy,
I mean, we are the constitutional republic that elects people in a democratic way, but, you know, let's not nitpick.
Democracy, you do not have individual rights. It is mob rule. That is why they say democracy rather than constitutional republic. But if you are looking at the terms that they are using in this index, the term full democracy would be the equivalent, I guess you could say, to a constitutional republic. But I think that definition is flawed, just like...
All right, let's take a break from his silliness for a second, and let's look at this. We're going to look at this a second. This is from freedomhouse.org. And this is I can actually look at this webpage, and I don't necessarily know exactly what methodology this website uses to determine how free or not free that these countries are or not. But I found a ranking here of what these countries are and how free they are versus how not free they are and what their scores are. And so you have a mix of political rights and civil liberties and what they are and what they're not. And topping the list is Sweden, and it looks like this list is very blurry, but it has Norway at the top. Here, Norway has a top score of 100, and Sweden is third, and their score is 102. They list Ireland here, so Norway and Sweden are kind of tied, and they say that they're free. I don't know, so that they're kind of mixed here. Finland is free. They also have a score of 100 here, so I don't know if they're using the same things as well. Here, the American score here looks like maybe an 83 or an 82. I don't know. But, you know, it's kind of blurry. But, you know, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. We're 54th on this list of free versus mostly free or whatever, you know, but or of whatever the free versus not. But our score is an 83, you know, which is tied with these other folks. But we're listed as free according to this chart. So we're not as great as listed as with Sweden is. We're not, you know, Sweden and Finland and Norway, these other countries are listed as being maybe, I guess, a higher freedom score as we have. We have, you know, political rights. Our political rights are lower. You know, our economic rights, our civil liberties are lower. But there is a reason that our political rights and our civil rights are lower than these other countries. Conservatism. Conservatism is the reason why our political and civil liberties are lower. It has nothing to do with what you're trying to say, Josh. It's conservatives taking away voting rights, conservatives taking away abortion rights, conservatives fighting trans rights and gay rights. That's why we have a lower score than all of these other countries. It's because of conservatives. It's not because of liberals. It's not because of the reasons you're stating, Josh. It's because of you guys that we're having issues, that we don't rank as high. Whoo-wee. Again, I don't know. Let's see. Perspectives. And let's see, they have policy recommendations under the Freedom House. Internet freedom, the future of privacy, free expression, and democratic governance rests on decisions made today. Explore Freedom House's recommendations on internet freedom. Policymakers protect privacy and security, strictly regulate use of surveillance tools, protect encryption, strengthen data privacy by using stronger regulations and enacting comprehensive, so stronger regulations. They want stronger regulations, not something that Josh Bernstein wants, I'm sure. Democracies should collaborate to create interoperable privacy regimes that comprehensively safeguard user information, also align data flow across borders and jurisdictions. With similar levels of protection, individuals should have control over their information, including right to access, delete, and easily transfer. Companies should be required to limit the collection of consumer data, particularly intimate information such as health, biometric location, disclose plain language how they collect it. I mean, I'm sure conservatives like Josh Bernstein would have a big problem with that because that's government telling business what to do. Gasp. Wait, government telling business what to do. Safeguard free expression, access to information, diverse online environment, maintain access to internet services, digital platforms, circumvent technology, whatever, during elections, protests, and periods of conflict. Let's see, strengthen global internet freedom. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's anything about, like, you know, bad actors. Ensure fair and transparent content moderation. To ensure content moderation, products that are respectful of users, private companies should prioritize user-free expression to access information, particularly for journalism, discussion of human rights, educational materials, political, social, cultural, religious, and artistic expression. Clearly and completely explain in guidelines and terms of service what speech is not permissible, what aims restrictions serve, how content is assessed for violations, an essential step for... So basically it's saying that companies should be able to say that content is not allowed, but that you should be able to say why it's not allowed and clearly say why it's not allowed, provide publish detailed transparency reports on content takedowns, both for initiated by governments and for those undertaken by companies. Transparency reports should also address how machine learning is used to train automated systems that classify, recommend, and prioritize content for human review. Hey, I was talking about that earlier. Human review. I totally agree. Human review. Totally agree with that. Chris, Dan might have to take Pop to ER. He's starting to have chills. Please take care of your Pop. Take care of your dad. I resist government orders. Yeah, there's plenty of, there's plenty of stuff on here of policy record. We can go into that more later. But basically, yeah, the internet freedoms doesn't mean that Josh Bernstein gets to say anything he wants on any internet platform at any time. Because to require a business and the owners of such businesses to allow Josh Bernstein to say whatever they want, whatever he wants at any time, would be a violation of their First Amendment rights. But many conservatives don't understand that. Let's continue on with Josh's diatribe as to how we're not the land of the free because Josh Bernstein can't say what he wants to say. What happened? There we go.
Our rating. A flawed democracy. So, there it is, folks, in a nutshell. Are we really that free?
This is me in a nutshell.
I don't think so.
In a nutshell.
And clearly this data proves it. Now,
clearly it proves it, even though we don't know where it's coming from, and we question, its methodology, and we question why it's said, although I was able to show where I got my methodology from, and my website that I was able to use said that even though we rank maybe lower in number, my site that I quickly found using a very quick internet search shows that America is a free country, and part of the reasons that I was able to ascertain quickly as to why we're maybe lower on the list of these other countries are reasons that conservatives have caused. Civil liberties, political freedoms that have been restricted by conservatives, not by liberals. It's y'all's fault, not our fault. But hey.
What's it going to take to get America back into the top 5?
Rejection of conservatism.
Well, I don't know 100%.
I'm not shocked.
The answer to that. But I know it's not President Trump. Not saying that I don't want him to be the nominee and want...
Hey, I agree with him again. It's not President Trump. We agreed twice in one video. We don't like the Patriot Act, and Donald Trump will not get us back into the high ratings. Now, he's probably wrong for why he's right, but we agree twice. That'll probably never happen again.
Him to win and run and win and get this country back on track. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying as one person, President Trump alone is not going to be just the answer. And quite frankly, with the indictment today on these BS charges that they
are not BS charges.
Put out on him once again, plus New York, you got Georgia, you got all these others. There's another 6 or 7 more coming down the pike.
I wonder why that is. Is maybe it's not that it's a big conspiracy that's out to get him. Maybe he's just that bad of a person that has done that much wrong things that it's all finally starting to fall down on him. Maybe? That wouldn't be apparent to him, though.
I think it'll be a miracle if they even allow him to run. But
shockingly enough, even if he goes to prison before the election starts, he can still run from prison. There has been another person who ran for president from prison before. It's happened before. It can happen again. He could run for president from prison and win from prison if America is stupid enough to do so. We were stupid enough to elect him once. Who knows?
If somehow he does...
P-Dub, 6 or 7. Let's see. We got New York. We've got Georgia. We've got Florida. We've got D.C., the potential of charges in D.C. for the January 6th charges pertaining to the insurrection. We've got the potential charges in New Jersey that could be charged because of the document that he shared with people. I'm sure there's two more. I'm sure there's one or two more. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but it's getting late.
Miraculously run for president in 2024, and even more miraculously, they somehow allow him to win, well, then perhaps, and again, this is a small perhaps, we might be able to save this country and get ourselves back on track. But I will say this, and you're not going to want to hear it. In the next few years, every single American that believes in freedom, liberty, and prosperity and doesn't want to live in tyranny and authoritarianism and totalitarianism and communism and socialism and all the other isms.
All isms, every single ism, all of them, even if they conflict with each other, every single ism combined into one, like a Voltron of isms. Voltronism.
Guess what? You're going to have to make some sacrifices, okay?
And what sacrifices are those, Josh? I mean, you've said it before on Jeff's show. You've hinted at them before on Jeff's show, but you won't actually say exactly what they are, but we all know what they are. Basically, Josh has previously, as I've interpreted his words, has encouraged, armed insurrection against this country. That's how I've interpreted his words. And if I'm wrong, he's more than welcome to correct me. But, that would require him coming on my show, and he's too cowardly, in my opinion, to do so.
Whether that be personal or those sacrifices forced on you by a tyrannical government.
Forced on you by a tyrannical government. What could those be?
But you will have to make sacrifices. You will also have to do some very in-depth and deep soul searching as well. And
I mean, I think they fixed the Kia Soul bug, maybe, but oh wait, that's a different type of soul. Sorry.
You may have to come to a conclusion at.
He paused a little bit too long before to a conclusion. That was kind of weird. Again, leave your kinks to yourself.
At some point, as an American citizen, as a patriot, and as someone who has lived in and loved your freedom.
90
you will have to make a decision.
Sorry, Blog Talk Radio folks. The show's coming to an end. You might not have heard this much, but we're going to go long, so.
And that decision in the next few years, well, could be possibly whether or not there is indeed still a political solution to America's problem.
Whether or not there is a political solution. Well, if there's not a political solution, Josh, what other solution might there be?
60 seconds.
What other political solution? What other solution could you be talking about? I don't know. Maybe you're talking about, I don't know, Bake Off. Is that it? Are you talking about a bake-off, like a grand bake-off, where everyone makes cookies and the person with the best cookies wins, right? Is that it? Probably not.
And, well, we'll have to see what happens in the future. But that ultimate sacrifice?
My sacrifice. I have to listen to Creed. Is that it? That's the sacrifice. You have to listen to Creed all the time, 24/7. At least it's not Nickelback. You have to listen to Creed.
Could be a lot of different things.
It could be a lot of different things, and he's not going to get specific because he doesn't want to flag. Yeah, no, 10 seconds. Blog Talk Radio,
including, yes, your life.
You have to put your life up on the line, like the game of life, like not Monopoly or Risk, but life. But I thought the game of life was too woke because they've changed it to where you don't become married and you could just have kids without getting married now. I thought that was a problem amongst conservatives now. What, right? Wasn't that the problem now, is that you can get married, you don't have to get married now in a game of life? Oh, wait, that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about risking your life. What would you risk your life doing? Not the bake-off, right? It's some other thing that you want people to do, risking their life. What could that be, Josh?
Those are my thoughts. What are yours?
My thoughts are that you are a crazy conspiracy kook that is dangerous and that is also too cowardly to come on my show, because you know that I would own you every step of the way, because unless you could just try and talk over me, that's why you want me to come on your show, because then you could just talk over me and control the mic and control the volume and control the mute button or whatever. Yes, Josh, bringing a boy. Josh doesn't get specific because he's an idiot. Even a conservative knows it and says it. That's the best way to end it. Even a conservative says, Josh doesn't get specific because he's an idiot. That's the best way to end the video. Thank you so much. If you like this video, like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. That was just, I was just saying that just to end this video, because I just created that video for uploading later, because I'm going to upload this after the podcast is over. So let's switch back to this. Whew, yeah. I'm glad I watched this one and not the other one, because that one was definitely interesting. Although, wait, he does have more to say. Let's flip back to this one for a second just to see what more he has to say.
Put him down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.
Do we get the credits, post credits? The Josh Bernstein Uncensored post credits music. Yeah, no. Okay, we're good. The Flames, rocking the flames of Josh Bernstein Uncensored. Hey. We're rocking all the flames and rocking all the time on the nines. All Bernstein all the time. Sad thing is he's like, supposedly was raised Jewish, supposedly, but he says a lot of anti-Semitic things too, which is pretty darn sad. You know.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. My show, I don't know if Blog Talk Radio is still allowing me to go long or not. It's still kind of counting down the post-show things. I don't know if I'm gonna get to play the end of show music or not. Because we've gone long today. That's what she said. Oh, wait, that's what she said. Hey, I got to use my rim shot thing. Sweden, as a matter of fact, in 2017, there have been no federal laws prohibiting highly lethal weapons such as semi-automatic weapons, military star rifles, or handguns. I mean, maybe. And look, I don't have a... I have issues, you know, I don't have issues with law-abiding citizens owning guns. I mean, I do have a problem with loopholes in background checks. I think there should be a background check for the transfer of any transfer of gun from any private owner to any private owner should have a background check. I don't think there should be any exception to that. I don't think that should be a controversial opinion, period. But we can talk about that on another show. Let's see if they let me play the show end, even though I have gone over on this. I didn't say so. It does not look like I will get to play the show end audio on this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is the end of this week's episode of Liberal Dan Radio. Oh, it is playing. Look at that. This is the end of this week's episode of Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. It is very much most likely that tomorrow the Supreme Court will drop its ruling on the student loan forgiveness. And if that's the case, I will be live here on Liberal Dan Radio, on YouTube and Blog Talk Radio. Maybe Blog Talk Radio, at least on YouTube, probably 8 p.m. Central. So join me here. Watch out for posts about it. If it happens, it most likely will happen. If it happens, I'll be live here before I go live on Twitch. So here first, then Twitch. So until tomorrow, Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.